Lily's POV. I've run several tests, the doctor said, her voice cautious yet firm. I'll contact you as soon as the results come in. But, based on the symptoms you've described, I don't believe they're related to your pregnancy. Let's hope for the best, but prepare for more than one possibility. I nodded stiffly, the knot in my throat refusing to loosen. The sterile scent of the infirmary clawed at my senses, as if even the air was warning me something was terribly wrong. My heart thudded louder than it should have, not from the baby, from everything else. I stepped out into the hospital hall slowly, the chill from the tiles seeping through my slippers. 9 moons along, and yet the ache in my chest burned fiercer than the weight of my growing pup. Alpha Hudson should have been here, but once again, my mate, my Alpha, had made himself unavailable. He said he had duties to attend to, said the patrols were shifting, said the outer border reports needed reviewing. All lies. Because through the faint opening of a nearby hospital room, I heard his voice, warm, familiar, soft, in a way he hadn't spoken to me in moons. You don't have to blame yourself, Abby, he murmured. What happened with your old mate? That's not your fault. I'm here now, and I'll make sure you and the pup are safe. Always. Abigail's voice trembled like she'd rehearsed it 100 times. Alpha, I never meant to come between you and Luna Lily. If only my bond hadn't shattered back then, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be taking up your time. Don't talk like that, Hudson said gently. You're not a burden. You need support. I promised I'd look after you, didn't I? I gripped the edge of the hallway wall, claws slowly extending out of instinct. My wolf stirred restlessly within me, sensing the betrayal even before I let myself feel it. He was supposed to be mine. Not because I owned him, but because the moon goddess said so. We were mates, fated, bound, chosen, and yet here he was, whispering sweet words to another she-wolf who already had her chance. But who am I really? They were childhood sweethearts. They were so in love back then before Abigail left with her fated mate and I entered Hudson's life. Years later, Abigail came back. She was welcomed to the territory of River Valley Pack like she always belonged there. And I just found out she was pregnant too, but so was I. The only difference? He actually cared about her child. I tried to calm my breathing, tried to will myself away, but the door creaked open and a doctor entered the room. Oh, Alpha, good to see you again, she greeted brightly. Then she turned to Abigail and smiled. Luna, you and your pup look to be in excellent health. Abigail giggled, falsely modest. Oh, I'm not the Luna. The doctor blinked, then blushed. I'm so sorry. I just assumed, since the Alpha always brings you in personally, he must care a lot. My stomach twisted. I didn't wait to hear Hudson's response. I walked away, one hand bracing my belly, the other trembling at my side. The memory hits harder than I expect. The night I vomited blood and begged Hudson to come with me to the infirmary. He told me he couldn't. Abigail has muscle soreness, he said. She can't move well. I need to check on her. I nearly collapsed on the cold floor, clutching my belly while he held another wolf in his arms. That was the night I knew something inside me had broken. I left the hospital without saying a word, forcing myself to keep my head high as I walked through the packed territory. The whispers followed me, of course. They always did. I reached our shared quarters and stopped in front of the door. Our home, or what used to be. The scent of Hudson still lingered, wrapped in pinewood and wild musk, but now it was tainted, marked by the scent of another she-wolf I didn't invite in. I sat on the edge of the bed and took a shaky breath. Then I pulled out my phone and called the only Alpha I trusted anymore. Dad. My voice cracked the moment I heard his. Lily. My father's voice was stern but filled with concern. Is there something wrong? I told him everything. The hospital, the way Alpha Hudson acted, Abigail, and the slow death of a bond that had once felt eternal. I want to come home, Dad, I finished, to Rosebud Pack. I want to raise my pup somewhere safe, somewhere away from Hudson and Abigail. I'm ending the mateship. There was a long pause. Then his response came like a steady heartbeat. Then come home. You and your pup don't need Rain Valley, and you damn sure don't need Alpha Hudson. Tears slid down my cheeks, quiet and cleansing. I didn't even try to wipe them away. I'll book a flight. Just give me a week, I said. You have a pack waiting for you, Lily. You're not alone. As the call ended, I pressed a hand over my belly. My pup kicked softly in return. It was as if he knew. "I'll get us out of here, little one," I whispered. "I promise you we'll be free." And this time, I'd keep my word. Lily's POV. The doctor's assistant handed me the envelope as soon as I walked into the doctor's office the day after. "Luna Lily," she said gently, "your test results are in. You'll need to speak with doctor for the treatments and medical procedures." My hand trembled slightly as I took the envelope. I could barely hear her as she added, "She said your symptoms is not pregnancy-related at all. You'll know once you open the results. Let's hope for the best, all right?" Hope, that fragile word kept coming up lately, as if people could smell how much I needed it. I clutched the envelope tightly against my chest, afraid that opening it would shatter whatever illusions I still clung to. It had been days since my last meal stayed down. My skin felt like it was stretched too tightly over my bones. I was constantly fatigued, dizzy, and plagued with back pain that no one could quite explain. Even my wolf, usually restless and protective during late pregnancy, was subdued, quiet, like she was hiding something from me. I sank down on the bench outside the clinic, too drained to open the results just yet. My eyes wandered toward the glass doors of the next wing, and that's when I saw him. Alpha Hudson. He was walking down the hospital hallway beside Abigail again, a hand gently placed on her lower back as if guiding her protectively. His head tilted toward her, voice low, soft. He looked calm, attentive. I hadn't seen that look on his face for so long, certainly not around me. They stopped by the records desk, and Hudson stepped into another doctor's office alone, probably to pick up her medical report. Abigail lingered by the door, touching her bump dramatically with a self-satisfied air. I forced myself to look away, tears threatening. The paper in my hand burned like fire. My stomach twisted violently, but I swallowed the nausea and stood. I wouldn't cry. Not here. But then Abigail noticed me. She cocked her head with a mocking smile and walked right over, her eyes gleaming with the thrill of a confrontation. "Luna," she said sweetly, "you should be careful lurking around like this. It's not a good look, clinging to a dying bond." I stared at her, unmoving. It's funny hearing that from someone who clung so hard to a failed mateship, she had to sneak into mine. Her smile faltered. "I had Hudson first. You're just the replacement, a temporary Luna, and now that I'm carrying his child, maybe it's time you step aside." The words hit harder than I expected. My wolf growled low inside me. I gripped the envelope tighter. "You're disgusting," I spat. "If your mate rejected you, go back to him. Don't ruin another's bond just because you can't handle your own failure." Abigail's eyes flashed. "You poor thing, still pretending Hudson wants you? That baby you're carrying. I wouldn't be surprised if he forgets all about it once mine is born. I mean, why raise two pups when you can raise one with the woman he actually loves?" A breath hitched in my throat. No, he told me Abigail's child wasn't his. He looked me in the eye and swore he was only helping her as an old friend. I begged for the truth, and he promised me. But why did her words feel so real now? My hand moved instinctively to my bump. My wolf whimpered inside me, but I held my ground. "Back off," I warned. "You don't want to start something you'll regret." Abigail's eyes dropped to the envelope in my hand. "What's that?" she asked, reaching forward before I could stop her. "Give that back. Too late." She tore the top open and scanned the first page. Her lips curled into a wicked grin. Oh my goddess, you have cancer?" I froze. She laughed. "Moon above, this is Luna. Dying? Maybe the goddess is on my side after all. You and your pup, you might die together." Something inside me snapped. My palm flew before I could stop it, striking her sharply across the face. Abigail stumbled dramatically, then yelped as she fell backward, right into a small wooden side table. A glass vase shattered beneath her, and her wail echoed through the corridor. She didn't hesitate. She thrust her hand into the broken glass, cutting her palm deliberately. Blood gushed. "Help!" she screamed. "The Luna! She attacked me!" The office door flew open. Hudson charged out, eyes landing on Abigail first. He didn't even look at me before rushing to her side. "What the hell did you do, Lily?" he barked, pushing me roughly. I staggered back, clutching my belly. "I didn't push her. She staged it," I cried. "Hudson, listen to me." "Alpha," Abigail whimpered, playing weak. "Please don't fight with her. She's just upset. I understand. I'm sorry if I made things worse." "She needs to apologize." Hudson snarled, turning to me. I held out the blood-smeared paper. Please, just read this. I have cancer. He slapped it from my hands. The paper fell to the tiled floor, sliding into a pool of Abigail's blood, the ink blurred, unreadable. I don't have time for your drama, he snapped. I'm done walking on eggshells around you. My heart cracked open. You're really choosing her, even now. If you apologize to Abigail, he said coldly, I'll come with you to your next checkup. Apologize, first. I stared at him. This male I once called my mate, the same alpha who promised to protect me with his life. He now stood before me, demanding I bow to the she-wolf who took everything from me. I looked down at the ruined paper, then back at him. No. Lily. No, I repeated, louder this time. You've disappointed me in ways I can never put into words. My baby stirred, a small kick. I won't apologize for telling the truth, and I won't beg for scraps of your attention anymore. Then I turned around, refusing to look back. Lily's POV. The moment I turned my back and walked away from the hospital, the world around me dulled. My wolf whimpered low in my chest, wounded but silent, like she didn't even have the strength to snarl anymore. I should have shifted, let her take the reins, maybe run until my paws bled, but I was too tired, too hollow. I had cancer. I hadn't even processed it fully. The words on that damn report blurred in my mind like smoke. And Hudson, the father of my unborn pup, my mate, my alpha, he had shoved me aside like I was nothing. No, worse than nothing. He picked up the woman who ruined us, carried her in his arms, and called me emotional like I was just being dramatic. I was carrying his child for the moon goddess' sake, and he still chose Abigail. Every step back to the River Valley pack house felt heavier than the last. The wind was colder, the leaves didn't whisper, they stared. The whole world seemed to watch me break apart in silence. When I stepped into our home, I paused. The scent of cedarwood and honey, his scent, was fading, already replaced with something else. Lavender and lilac. Abigail. Her scent was here, clinging to the corners, soaked into the furniture like a stain I couldn't scrub out. My eyes landed on the large framed photo from our mateship ceremony. Hudson had been smiling that day. Really smiling. Holding my waist, his forehead pressed to mine, like nothing else existed but us. I reached for it slowly and pulled it down from the wall. The frame cracked as it hit the bottom of the trash bin. I didn't flinch. I moved through the room in silence, packing piece by piece. I didn't have much energy left, but I had enough to get out. My body felt like it was shutting down, my joints aching, stomach twisting, head heavy and clouded. I could already feel the cancer dragging at me like a curse woven into my bones. The pup stirred in my womb as if sensing my pain. I'm sorry, baby, I whispered, resting both palms over my belly. We'll leave soon. We'll be safe soon. After a long bath, trying to soothe the fire under my skin, I wrapped myself in a thick robe and called for the PAC's medical team. I didn't have much time left. If I was going to make it through this pregnancy, I needed the healer's guidance. Even if I didn't survive, I had to make sure my pup did. When I padded down the stairs, the scent of wolfsbane tea and eucalyptus hit me first. The healers were already here, gathered respectfully in the living room, their heads bowed in greeting. Elder Mateo was among them, a wise and steady healer. I trusted him more than most. Luna Lily, he greeted with soft concern. We came as requested. Thank you, I murmured, voice thinner than I wanted it to be. Please, let's talk. The front door creaked open. Hudson stepped inside, carrying Abigail in his arms like some kind of wounded treasure. My eyes narrowed. I told you not to bring her here, I said, standing between them in the living room. Hudson's gaze hardened immediately. She's unwell, because of what you did. What I did, I scoffed. She threw herself on a vase and bled on purpose. You think I can't scent her lies? Abigail whimpered, her eyes glistening. I only came because I didn't know where else to go. I'm just here for the baby's sake, Luna, please. My jaw clenched so tightly I thought I might crack a fang. You're not welcome here. Abigail lowered her eyes, her lip trembling. Then she reached for Hudson's hand and placed it on her barely there belly bump. I guess me and the baby will leave then, Alpha, even though I'm feeling so faint. But if Luna Lily wants us gone, I'll respect that. Manipulative she-wolf. Hudson's voice turned sharp. What is wrong with you? Where is your compassion? She's carrying a pup. So am I snapped. feeling my control slipping. Or have you forgotten that I'm your Luna and the mother of your firstborn? Hudson stared at me like I was a stranger. If it's such a problem, Lily, maybe you should leave. He didn't. He didn't just say that in front of the healers, did he? All heads turned toward me. Some looked away quickly, ashamed. Others, like Elder Mateo, met my gaze with silent fury, but said nothing. My lips parted, but no sound came, not even a cry. I took a breath, then another. Fine, I whispered, barely audible. Do what you want. I turned around, ready to walk away, when Abigail's voice cooed behind me. Alpha, did she trash your mateship photo? That's such a shame. I always thought that picture looked so lovely on the wall. My feet paused for a second, but I didn't turn around. She's just being dramatic, Hudson muttered. She'll crawl back when she cools down. I walked out without a word. A tear slipped down my cheek. But it was the last one I would ever shed for Alpha Hudson, Lily's POV. I'd spent the night in a small lodge at the edge of Packlands. Just me, my thoughts, and the biting winter air. I wanted distance from him, my mate, and the wound in my soul. But distance didn't heal what was broken. It only reminded me how deeply I'd shattered. Returning home that morning, I clasped my belly protectively. My steps faltered at the door, because something in the scent had changed. The air held a soft perfume I recognized all too well. Clean lilac mixed with Abigail's artificial rosewater. It wound through the hallway, sliding into my lungs like ash. My wolf growled low. On trembling paws, I headed upstairs and froze in the hallway. Voices echoed behind my door. 3 of the pack's healers and 2 nurses were murmuring to Abigail. What was my room doing filled with her? My heart pounded in my ears. Every memory tied to that room, every poem written by firelight, every lazy afternoon in the reading nook, every hopeful vision of the future painted in soft pastels, felt tainted. I pressed my palm to my lips to steady my breathing, calmed my wolf, and opened the door. Inside, it was theirs now. Abigail lay in my bed, tucked under the very sheets I chose. She smiled up at the healers, her fingers running over the edge of my blanket. My vanity, once covered in my perfume, was replaced with her hairbrushes and lotions. Her framed photos sat where my crystals and Luna journal used to be. Fury exploded from my gut like fire. I stormed forward and hauled her upright. What the hell are you doing here? I snarled. Before the words left my mouth, 2 strong arms wrapped around me and yanked me backward. Ah! Abigail screamed. Alpha, help! And just like literal magic, the Alpha came running to rescue her. Lily, enough! Hudson's voice cracked. He pulled me into the hallway, his body firm but cold. Stop acting like a lunatic. I pulled away, tears blurring my vision. This is my room, mine, you. Enough, he repeated harshly. He held up a hand, stealing his voice. Abigail likes it. I offered it to her. Choose another room. What about the healers? I pointed inside, my voice trembling. These are doctors I requested for me. I'm sick, Hudson, terminally. He cut me off, his tone stinging. You caused all this. You pushed Abigail and she got hurt. She needed help, so I brought in the healers. Damn it. If you keep on questioning my decisions like this, then maybe this mateship was a mistake. So fucking disappointing, you won't even listen to your own mate. I felt blood drain from my veins. You can't be serious, I whispered. My wolf trembled in my chest. His eyes were stone. You won't apologize, won't do what I ask, then maybe it's time you left. Go raise your pup somewhere else. He was willing to kick me, his Luna, out of our home? I sank to my knees, clutching my swollen belly, tears hot and raw. I didn't have the words anymore. I didn't even try to stand. The room spun as I made my way to the door over unsteady legs. Later that night, I lay in the guest room mattress Hudson insisted I use. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at him, not at Abigail. Just empty. Weary. My skin itched from rigors of sickness. My joints throbbed. My wolf rested beside me, protective and near silent, little paw pressed against my hand. My phone buzzed with messages. I was too exhausted to ignore them. At first, it was just one from Abigail. I opened it. Her voice, soft and sweet. Hudson brought the cutier postcards to show the pup. Isn't he just the best father? My heart cracked a little more. Another message. Abby, I hope you're resting well. I know how stressful this must be for you. I'm sorry if Lily acted out again. I already scolded her. It seemed like Hudson wasn't even aware he was being recorded while showering Abigail with those words. Then a third. I hesitated before pressing play. Hudson's voice came through, warm and doting. Don't worry, love. I brought you chamomile tea. Our baby is doing great. You're glowing. My hands trembled so hard, my nails dug into my palms. My Luna chamber in the other wing, the shared study, the big bed. They'd all been whispers of us, but his voice, his soft confessions, were rehearsals. Abigail got the full performance in private. I pressed the phone against my ear. My body shook until I laughed, not from humor, but from the pain so sharp it was absurd. My wolf whimpered inside me, and I hugged my bump tighter. It's okay, I whispered. It's just you and me now. A gentle kick answered. I promise you'll be safe. I didn't cry again. I didn't cry for him, or for the woman he chose over me. I exhaled and closed my eyes. Freedom would come soon. But for now, I had my pup, my illness, and a heart that still caught its breath despite getting broken. Lily's POV. Since Abigail moved into our shared quarters, the air around Hudson and me had shifted, like the very winds changed course without warning. He ghosted through my days, swallowed by guilt and divided loyalties. Even at the hospital during my cancer treatments, he showed up for Abigail, cradled her hair, coaxed her into shifts of comfort, words meant for a Luna, sweet whispers, promises, devotion, bleeded from him when he touched her. He didn't even know I had cancer until now. He refused to listen to anything I say. I no longer expected anything from him. My heart had locked down, barricaded behind grief and broken vows. That night, after another grueling session, I stumbled out of the hospital wing. My bones ached as if rebelling against my weak body. The initial treatment was moving too quickly, my strength draining like grains of sand through desperate claws. I shouldn't have come home, but what else was left for me? My steps were leaden as I climbed the corridor to the Alpha quarters, half of me hoping he wouldn't be there, half fearing the worst. Then a soft flicker of light under his door, and Abigail's voice, as clear as moonlight. Alpha, may I borrow the River Valley Pack's moonstone necklace? Her tone was as gentle as a begging doe. You gave it to Lily on your mateship day. I only wish. I pressed myself against the wall, breath catching. The moonstone, the heirloom of the River Valley Pack, passed from Luna to Luna for centuries. Hudson pinned it around my neck under the full moon. He called it a promise, a bond, a declaration of forever. And now he was about to hand it to Abigail. Of course, darling, it suits you. Until the pup is born, he said, voice soft. He leaned in and kissed her cheek. A sharp pain lanced through me, both physical and emotional, like a stake driven into my chest. Then I heard him whisper, I'll ask Lily. I'll tell her it's just temporary. The moment he said that, I knew it was over. But amidst that, our eyes met, and yet I didn't care anymore. I stumbled backward and turned away, tears stinging. The hallway spun, my legs threatening to give out. My wolf whimpered beneath my ribs, enraged and abandoned. Then I felt strong arms loop around me, pulling me into his quarters, lips hovering close. His eyes flickered between concern and guilt. Lily, did you hear? He started, voice sheepish. Just give it to her, I said, cutting him off. Give her the necklace. She can wear it as long as you want. His eyes widened. You're okay with this? I nodded slowly. Yes. He exhaled, relief flooding his features. Thank you. I knew you'd understand. He took my hand in his, softly, like he wanted to promise me something, but I knew better. My gaze wandered to the small table. The sealed papers of mateship and Luna termination were already opened, waiting for his signature. I wasn't fool enough to believe he'd notice. He squeezed my hand and murmured, I promise. Once the pup is born. I raised a hand. I don't care if she never gives it back. Just sign this. He paused. The other side of him flickered. All right. He hesitated. You don't want anything else? I pressed the papers into his hand. No, so just sign this. He took them, scrolling his eyes down, but never read a word. He signed it without even knowing the context of the paper. How foolish, but it was for the best. He sighed. You're doing this for leverage. I understand. He searched my face. But your place in the pack, in my heart, it's still safe. I smiled coldly. I knew those were empty promises again. Took a deep breath, then gently undid the clasp of the moonstone necklace around my throat. He blinked. I handed it to him without a tremor. He caught it and brushed a finger along the stone. You're sure? Yeah, I said. If she wants, she can keep that forever. He paused, longing gleaming in his eyes. Then he wrapped me in an embrace, My body locked up, but my wolf stayed silent. I didn't struggle. I pulled away gently and stepped back. "Don't worry," I whispered. "Just be with her." He stepped into her room without a backward glance. I lingered in the doorway for a heartbeat, heard Abigail's giddy laughter as the necklace was clasped around her. Then I shut the door behind me. Later, in the cold early hours, I sat by the window in the old guest room. My body trembled not from fear, but from the ache of my own survival. My wolf whimpered, soft, afraid, and betrayed, but I held her, cradling her inside me, soothing her pain. "It's okay," I breathed. "We're leaving. We'll be safe." A gentle kick, like a rebuke or a comfort. I wrapped both arms around my belly. My pup was the only one I needed now. "I'll protect you," I whispered. "No more pain." I stayed like that until the moon slipped behind the clouds and my breath finally calmed. Tomorrow, I would leave, and this time, I wouldn't hesitate. I encircled the last day in my calendar. "Goodbye, Alpha, Hudson's POV." I stretched, a satisfied groan rumbling in my chest, and Abigail stirred beside me, her head nuzzling into my shoulder. Abigail stirred again, her fingers tracing idle patterns on my chest, light as a feather. "Alpha?" Her voice was raspy with sleep, but even then I caught a hint of something else in it, a playful glint. I murmured, my gaze drifting to the high, ornate ceiling. The Luna Chamber, as it was formally called, felt different with her in it. She giggled, a soft, purring sound that vibrated against my skin. That was quite something. A smirk touched my lips, only the best for my little wolf. She leaned up, her dark eyes sparkling with a mischievous light. "You know," she said, her voice dropping conspiratorially, "I recorded it." My brows furrowed slightly. "Recorded what?" "Us," she said, her smile widening into a full, knowing grin. She held up her phone, its screen glowing faintly in the dim room. A short video clip played, soundless but unmistakable. My body, her body, entwined. A strange thrill, sharp and sudden, shot through me, quickly followed by a flicker of apprehension. "Why?" I asked, my voice a little rougher than I intended. She shrugged, a graceful, unconcerned movement of her bare shoulders. "Just a little memento, to remember the night." Her gaze sharpened, a sly, almost predatory glint entering her eyes. "And perhaps, to remind some people where your loyalties truly lie, Alpha. There's no need for that." She pouted, a surprisingly endearing expression on her face, like a little pup denied a treat. "Oh, come on, Alpha, just a little nudge. She needs to understand that you're moving on." "I'm not moving on," I countered, though the words felt hollow, even to my own ears. "Lily is still my Luna. She's carrying my pup." Abigail rolled her eyes, a gesture that, coming from anyone else, would have earned a sharp reprimand from me. But from her, it was almost charming. The truth often snaked its way into our conversations, a nagging reminder. Abigail's pregnancy. It was the result of a drunken night, a blurred memory, a morning of searing regret, and an undeniable realization when I woke naked beside her. Her words whispered against my chest, confirming what my hazy mind could barely grasp. "It's yours, Alpha. I swear it." I had denied it to Lily. So many times. Flat out lied, gaslit her, convinced her it was some distant, forgotten encounter, that I was simply offering aid to an old friend in need. "Just delete it, Abby," I said, my voice heavy with a plea I rarely used. She sighed dramatically, a theatrical huff of air, but she complied, her thumb swiping across the screen until it went dark. "Fine, but you owe me, Alpha." "Anything," I said, a weary resignation in my tone. "Good," she purred, snuggling closer, her body warm against mine, "because I'm craving those blueberry muffins from the Pack Baker, and then, well, let's just say I have other ideas for how you can make it up to me." The rest of the day was a blur of Abigail's desires. Blueberry muffins, fresh from the Pack Bakery, still warm in the paper bag. A long, slow walk by the river, where she complained about her swollen ankles and the weight of her belly. The hours bled into late afternoon, the sun casting long yet golden shadows through the Alpha office window. I was reviewing the patrol reports, my mind half on the strategic movements of our border patrols, half on Abigail's latest demand for pickled plums and honey. My office door, usually closed and guarded, suddenly burst open without so much as a warning knock. Beta Kyle, my most trusted second in command, stood in the doorway, his broad shoulders slumped, his usually keen eyes clouded with something I couldn't quite decipher. Fear, anger. In his hand, he clutched a thick, cream-colored envelope, its wax seal emblazoned with the familiar crest of the Rosebud Pack. My blood ran cold. The Rosebud Pack. Lily's home pack. Her father's territory. "Kyle," I said, my voice sharper than I intended, cutting through the sudden silence. "What is it, and why the hell did you just burst in?" He swallowed hard, his gaze meeting mine with a strange mix of pity and accusation. "Alpha, a letter from the Rosebud Pack." He held it out, his hand trembling slightly, a tremor that sent a jolt of unease through me. I snatched it, tearing open the thick wax seal with a rough, impatient gesture. The words, penned in an elegant but unforgiving script, leaped off the page, striking me like a physical blow. To Alpha Hudson of the River Valley Pack. This letter serves as a formal declaration and a demand for restitution. Effective immediately, the Rosebud Pack formally requests the return of all lands, territories, and financial treasures gifted to the River Valley Pack on the day of the mateship ceremony between Alpha Hudson and Luna Lily of the Rosebud Pack. My eyes scanned the lines, my mind reeling, struggling to make sense of the words. Return the lands, the treasures? Those were agreements, symbols of a powerful alliance, bound by my mateship to Lily. What in the moon goddess's name was happening? This was odd. "What is this?" I snarled, slamming the letter onto my desk, the heavy paper thudding against the polished wood. "Why are they demanding this? What in the hell is going on, Kyle?" Beta Kyle finally met my gaze, his voice low, heavy with the weight of unspeakable news. He looked like he'd just delivered a death sentence. "Alpha, it's because you are no longer married." The air was sucked from my lungs. "What?" The word was a raw gasp, barely a whisper. "What are you talking about? Lily is in the guest room right now. She's just sulking. She's being dramatic, as usual." My mind scrambled, trying to find a logical explanation, a way to dismiss his words. He shook his head slowly, the movement filled with a deep, sorrowful finality. "No, Alpha, she's not. Luna Lily, she has officially stepped down as Luna of the River Valley Pack. She left without anyone noticing." The words struck me like a lightning bolt, searing through my very being. Step down? Lily, my Luna? Impossible. She couldn't just do that. She was mine. Our bond was fated. "That's impossible," I roared, rising from my seat, my fists clenched, my wolf snarling in disbelief, a guttural sound that filled the office. She can't do that. She's my mate." Kyle's next words hit me with the force of a battering ram, knocking the breath from my chest, shattering the last vestiges of my carefully constructed world, leaving me exposed and reeling. "And the next thing they demand, Alpha," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, yet echoing like thunder in the suddenly silent office, "is to officially break the mate bond between you two." Hudson's POV. Break the mate bond. My wolf howled inside me, a raw, tormented sound that clawed at my throat. "What are you talking about, Kyle?" My voice was a low growl, rough with disbelief. "This is some kind of joke, a sick, twisted joke." My eyes darted to the letter again, as if the words would change, rearrange themselves into something less infuriating. Kyle, however, didn't flinch. His face was grim, his eyes holding a pity that angered me. "Alpha, it's all here. The official declaration. Luna Lily has formally renounced her title and dissolved the marriage." He gestured to the letter, then to a second, thinner document that lay beneath it. "And this is the signed agreement." I snatched the second paper, my hands trembling. It was a formal document, thick parchment, with legal-sounding words that blurred before my eyes. But one thing stood out, clear as day, stark against the cream paper, my signature. My mind reeled. I stared at it, then back at Kyle. "I didn't sign this," I stammered, the words feeling foreign on my tongue. "I don't remember signing anything like this. What the heck is this?" "It's your signature, Alpha," Kyle said, his voice quiet but firm. "It's dated a week ago. A week ago. The day Lily had come to me, holding those papers, asking me to sign something. I had been preoccupied, dismissive. I had barely glanced at it, too focused on Abigail, on her needs. I remembered signing it, yes, but not what I was signing. I had been so sure she was just being dramatic, that she'd crawl back. I had been so stupid. A cold dread began to seep into my bones, chilling me to the core. "The land," I mumbled, my eyes falling back to the Rosebud Pack's letter. "The Southern Territory." Kyle nodded, his expression grim. "Yes, Alpha. They're demanding the return of the Southern Territory. And the gold, the silver, the rare furs, all the treasures gifted at your mateship ceremony. The Southern Territory. That wasn't just some plot of land. That was a vast expanse of fertile hunting grounds, rich with ancient timber, and more importantly, it held the largest known silver mine in the region. It was a huge source of income for the River Valley Pack, a vital part of our strength and prosperity. Giving that up would cripple us, weaken our standing among the other packs. It was unthinkable. "They can't do that," I growled, my voice low and dangerous. "That land is ours." It was a gift, a permanent transfer. "A gift contingent on the mateship, Alpha," Kyle corrected gently, his eyes filled with a weary understanding. "The original treaty states that if the bond is broken by either party, the gifts are to be returned." My fists clenched, my knuckles white. Broken by either party. But I hadn't broken it. Lily had. She had done this. She had signed away our marriage, her Luna status, and then she had tricked me into signing it too. "Gamath, she wouldn't," I muttered, shaking my head. "She wouldn't just leave. Not with our pup." The thought of our unborn child, my firstborn, growing inside her, was the only thing that kept me from truly losing my mind. There was a pup that was undeniably mine. That meant this couldn't be final. "Alpha," Kyle began, his voice hesitant. "Luna Lily's father, Alpha Theron, he's a powerful man, and he's furious." "Furious?" I scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "He's furious? What about me? What about my pack? She's trying to ruin us." My wolf was a raging storm now, demanding action, demanding answers. "She's testing my patience. This is just a way to get me to chase her." I slammed my hand on the desk, the papers rattling. "Get the vehicle ready," I barked, my voice echoing through the office. "Immediately. I'm going to the Rosebud Pack. I'm going to see Lily. I need to know what in the moon goddess's name is going on." Kyle's eyes widened slightly, but he didn't argue. He simply nodded and turned to leave. As he reached the door, I called out, "And tell no one else. Not yet." He paused, then nodded again, disappearing from the doorway. I strode out of my office, my mind a whirlwind of fury and denial. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Lily was playing a dangerous game, pushing me further than ever before. But she had a pup, my pup, and that meant she was still mine. She had to be. I found Abigail in the living room, curled on the sofa, nibbling on a sweet pastry. She looked up, her eyes wide and innocent. "Alpha? What's wrong? You look upset." She pushed herself up, her hand going to her belly. I walked over, kneeling beside the sofa, and took her hand. "It's just Lily. She's caused a bit of a stir with her family. She's testing my patience, that's all." Abigail's lower lip trembled slightly. "Oh, is she leaving? Or did she leave already?" I squeezed her hand. "Don't be silly, Abby. Lily's always been difficult, but I'll handle it. I just need to go to the Rosebud Pack. Get her back in line." I stood up, my jaw tight with determination. "I'll be back soon. Take care of yourself. And the baby." Her smile was small, almost imperceptible, but it was there. "Of course, Alpha. Be safe." I turned, my mind already racing, planning the confrontation, the arguments I would make, the undeniable truth of our fated bond. Lily had pushed me, yes, she had tested me, but she was still my Luna, and I would bring her back. She had to understand that this was a mistake, a very, very costly mistake. Lily's POV. The air in the Rosebud Pack territory tasted different. After the suffocating, tainted air of River Valley, this felt like breathing for the first time in months. My father, Alpha Theron, met me at the border, his stern face softening the moment his eyes landed on me. He didn't say much, just pulled me into a tight, protective embrace. The pack house was bustling, but the noise was comforting, not overwhelming. Familiar faces, old friends, greeted me with quiet nods and sympathetic glances. No whispers here, no judging eyes, just the warmth of a pack that truly cared. But even surrounded by love, the ache in my heart and the constant throb in my bones reminded me of what I had left behind and what still haunted me. My first priority, even before settling into the room my father had prepared, was to find the pack doctor. Dr. Anya was an older she-wolf, her fur streaked with gray, her eyes wise and kind. She had known me since I was a child. "Dr. Anya," I said, my voice trembling slightly as I sat on the examination table in her quiet office. The scent of herbs and antiseptic was strangely soothing. "I need your help to end the mate bond with Hudson." She sighed, her gaze gentle but firm. She knew, of course. News traveled fast between packs, especially news of Aluna's return. Lily, my dear, she began, her voice soft. You know how difficult that is. A mate bond is woven by the moon goddess herself. To break it, it's not a simple thing. I nodded, my hands clenching in my lap. I know, but I can't stay bound to him. Not after everything. My voice hitched, the words about my cancer catching in my throat. She reached out, her warm, calloused hand covering mine. And your health, Lily, she said, her eyes filled with concern. Your body is already fighting so much. To sever a mate bond, it takes a tremendous toll. It can weaken you further, perhaps irrevocably, especially now, with your pup so close to arrival. My stomach tightened. She was right. Every day the fatigue grew heavier, the aches sharper, but the thought of remaining tied to Hudson, even spiritually, was a poison I couldn't bear. There has to be a way, I whispered, desperation creeping into my voice. I won't let him have any claim over my pup, not after he chose their pup. I need to be completely free, for my baby's sake. Dr. Anya squeezed my hand. We will do everything we can, Lily, but it won't be easy, you understand? I nodded, tears stinging my eyes. I understand. Later that day, I found my father in his office, the familiar scent of his pipe tobacco filling the air. He was poring over old maps, his brow furrowed in thought. He looked up as I entered, his expression softening. Lily, he said, gesturing to the chair opposite his desk. How are you feeling? Anya told me you spoke to her. I'm okay, Dad, I lied, my voice a little too bright. But I need to know, is there truly no easier way to break the bond? He leaned back in his chair, a heavy sigh escaping him. Easier? After you told us about your cancer? No, but there is a safer way to heal your terminal disease and break your bond with that fucker. There are old ways, but they are dangerous, and few have the power to truly guide a wolf through such a thing without causing irreparable harm. He paused, his gaze distant, as if sifting through ancient memories. There is one pack, far to the north, the Heaven Valley pack. My ears perked up. Heaven Valley? I've heard of them. They're reclusive, aren't they? Very, he confirmed. But they're Alpha Caius. He is said to possess a unique gift, a rare healing ability passed down through his lineage, a power that can mend what others cannot, and sometimes sever what others cannot. He became an Alpha because he is the only one who knows how to heal even terminal diseases. A flicker of hope ignited within me. He can heal me? My father hesitated. It's not that simple. His healing comes with conditions. He is a mysterious figure, and his pack is fiercely protective of him. Negotiations would be difficult, and his terms are often unconventional. But if anyone could help you, Lily, it would be him. My heart hammered against my ribs. Heaven Valley, Alpha Caius, a healer who could heal even the impossible. It sounded like a myth, a desperate whisper in the dark. But for my pup, I'll go, I said, my voice firm, resolute. I'll do whatever it takes, whatever he asks. My father looked at me, a mixture of sadness and worry in his eyes. You're heavily pregnant, Lily. Your pup could arrive any moment now. I placed a hand on my swollen belly, feeling the gentle flutter of life within. My baby. I know, Dad, I need to be well, truly well, for my pup. If this Alpha Caius can heal me, then I have to try. After leaving his office, I went straight to the pack library. I needed to know everything I could about Heaven Valley Pack and its enigmatic Alpha. Alpha Caius was described as a powerful leader, rarely seen outside his territory. But as I read, a fierce determination settled over me. He might be mysterious, his conditions might be daunting, but he was my only hope. Hudson's POV. As my vehicle pulled up to the main gates of the Rosebud Pack, the air immediately felt heavier, colder. The guards stood stiffly, their eyes narrowed. Alpha Theron met me in the main courtyard, his presence as solid and unyielding as the ancient oaks that lined the pack house. He didn't offer a greeting, didn't even acknowledge my rank. Alpha Hudson, he rumbled, his voice low and dangerous, like a storm brewing. You have a lot of nerve showing your face here. Alpha, what is this madness? I showed the paper that they sent. Where is my Luna? I need to talk to Lily. He scoffed, a harsh, dismissive sound. My daughter has been through enough because of you. And now, you come here, pretending you don't know what's happening. He held up a hand, stopping me before I could speak. Let me be clear. Since you two have broken the marriage and the agreement that came with it, I am taking back what is mine. The Southern Territory. The gold, the silver. Every single treasure gifted to your pack on that day. My blood ran cold. He was serious. He was actually demanding the Southern Territory back. "You can't do that," I roared, my voice echoing across the courtyard. "That land was a gift, and I didn't break anything. Lily signed those papers. She fucking tricked me into signing them." Theron's eyes flashed, his face turning a shade darker. "Tricked you? You signed them, didn't you? You, the alpha of River Valley, signed a legal document without reading it? That sounds like your own foolishness, not my daughter's trickery." He stepped closer, his scent, old pine and raw power, pressing down on me. "And as for who broke what, Hudson, my daughter came home broken. She came home sick, and she came home alone because you were too busy with another she-wolf." The accusation stung, but I pushed it aside. "I don't want a divorce. I care for Lily, and I care for our child. There's a pup, Alpha. My pup. You can't just end our bond like this." He laughed, a short, humorless bark. "Your child? You think that gives you rights here? You abandoned her. You let her suffer. And now you want to claim a child you barely acknowledged until it suited you?" He leaned in, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You will return what is ours, and in return, I will let go of the dowry my pack received from River Valley. Consider it a small mercy." "I won't give up anything," I snarled, my wolf straining against my control. "And I'm not leaving without Lily. I need to talk to her. Where is she?" Theron's eyes hardened. "You will not see my daughter. Not now. Not ever. She is safe here, and she is free of you. Now leave my territory before I make you." He gestured to his guards, two hulking wolves who stepped forward, their eyes fixed on me. They were ready to shove me away. I felt a surge of pure frustration, a helpless rage. I was an alpha, but I was on another alpha's territory, outnumbered, and my mate's father was clearly beyond reasoning. "This isn't over," I yelled, even as I backed away, my wolf howling in protest at the forced retreat. "You can't keep her from me." I left the Rosebud Pack gates, the heavy silence of the forest pressing in on me. My mind raced, trying to find a way around Theron. I tried to mind-link Lily, my thoughts reaching out, searching for her presence, for that familiar spark that connected us. Nothing. Just a cold, empty void. It was like she had completely shut me out. I found a small, rundown hotel just outside the Rosebud Pack lands. It was a far cry from the luxurious alpha suites I was used to, but I didn't care. I wouldn't leave until I saw Lily. For the next few days, I tried again and again. Each time, I drove to the pack gates, only to be met by Alpha Theron or one of his betas. "Miss Lily is not seeing visitors. Miss Lily is resting. Miss Lily has made her decision." They always shoved me away, never letting me get close to the pack house, never letting me even catch a glimpse of her. My frustration grew, a burning knot in my stomach. Then, on the fourth day, as I was walking back from another failed attempt at the gates, I saw her. "Lily," I called out, rushing towards her. She turned, her eyes meeting mine, and for a moment I saw a flicker of something, surprise, pain, before it was replaced by a cold, hard mask. Her face was paler than I remembered, her eyes shadowed, but there was a fierce strength in them I hadn't seen before. "What do you want, Hudson?" Her voice was flat, devoid of any warmth, any emotion. It was like talking to a stranger. "What do I want?" I scoffed, my anger bubbling to the surface. "What do I want? What about what you're doing? Ending our marriage, stepping down as my Luna, demanding back the land. This is madness, Lily. You're being childish." Her lips curled into a sneer. "Childish? You think this is childish? I no longer fuck with you, Hudson. I no longer care about you. You made your choice. Now live with it." The words hit me like a physical blow, cold and sharp. "Don't talk like that," I snarled, stepping closer. "I am the father of the baby in your stomach. I have rights. And if you keep this madness going, if you keep trying to cut me out, I'll get my baby. I'll take him." The moment the words left my mouth, her hand flew. A sharp crack echoed in the quiet garden as her palm connected with my cheek. My head snapped to the side, a burning sting spreading across my face. "You arrogant, thick-faced bastard," she burst out, her voice rising, trembling with a fury I had never seen in her. "You dare talk about rights? You cheated on me. You lied to me. I know it's your child Abigail is carrying. Don't you dare pretend to care now. Get out. Get out of my sight. Never ever appear before me again." She shoved me, her strength surprising, pushing me back a step. Her eyes blazed, raw emotion finally breaking through her cold mask. I stumbled, staring at her, the accusations ringing in my ears. I turned and walked away, the sting of her slap still burning on my cheek, her words echoing in my mind. She wanted me gone. She wanted nothing to do with me. But as I left the Rosebud Pack territory, one thought, cold and clear, settled in my mind. She might not want me, but she had my child. And I would come back. I would do everything to get that child. Lily's POV. "Lily, my dear," my mother said, her voice gentle as she smoothed a stray strand of hair from my face. "Your father and I have found a lead. The Alpha of Heaven Valley Pack, Alpha Caius, is expected to attend the annual Alliance auction next week. It's a rare opportunity. He rarely leaves his territory, but he's known to have an interest in ancient artifacts and rare herbs." My heart leaped. An auction, a public setting. It was a chance, however slim, to approach the mysterious Alpha Caius. "He's really going?" I asked, a fragile hope blossoming in my chest. My father nodded, his expression serious. "We've confirmed it. It's your best chance to speak with him directly. He's a difficult man to approach, Lily, very private, but if anyone can help you, it's him." The week leading up to the auction was a blur of preparations. My parents insisted I rest, but my mind was too restless. The day of the auction arrived, and I dressed carefully, choosing a simple, elegant gown that would allow me to blend in, yet still command a certain respect. My belly was prominent now, my pup a constant, comforting weight. The auction hall was a grand, echoing space, filled with the scents of many different packs: pine, cedar, rain, and wild musk. My eyes scanned the crowd, searching for the distinctive aura of an alpha. Then I saw him. He stood slightly apart from the main throng, near a display of ancient scrolls, his back to the room. He was tall, with broad shoulders that spoke of immense strength, and his dark hair fell to his shoulders. Even from a distance, he exuded an aura of quiet power, a stillness that drew the eye. Taking a deep breath, I walked towards him, my heart pounding a nervous rhythm against my ribs. As I approached, he turned, and my breath hitched. His eyes were a startling, piercing green, like ancient emeralds, and they held a depth that seemed to see right through me. His face was sharp, almost chiseled, and utterly devoid of emotion. He was even more imposing up close than I had imagined. "Alpha Caius?" I asked, my voice a little softer than I intended. His gaze was unblinking. "My apologies," I said, gathering my composure. "I am Lily of the Rosebud Pack. Or rather, I was former Luna Lily of the River Valley Pack." I offered a small, polite bow. "I came here specifically to speak with you, Alpha." He simply watched me, his expression unreadable. "I understand you possess a unique gift," I continued, pressing on, forcing the words out. "A healing ability unlike any other. And I have reason to believe you might be able to help me with a very delicate matter." His head tilted slightly, a subtle movement. "And what might that be, Luna Lily?" His voice held no judgment, no warmth, just a quiet curiosity. It's about my disease," I confessed, my voice dropping to a whisper. "My health. I am gravely ill, Alpha." He looked at me for a long moment, his green eyes seeming to pierce through my very soul. I felt a strange, tingling sensation, like a faint current passing through me. "I will think about it," he finally said, his voice as calm as still water. "It depends on what you have to say." My heart leaped. He didn't turn me down. He actually said he would think about it. For a man rumored to be so reclusive, so difficult to approach, this was a massive step. It was a good sign, a very good sign. "Thank you, Alpha," I said, relief flooding through me. Just then, the auctioneer's voice boomed, signaling the start of the bidding. I turned towards the stage, a sense of renewed hope lifting my spirits. But then, my gaze swept across the room, and my blood ran cold. There, mingling with a group of alphas from the Western Territories, were Hudson and Abigail. My breath hitched. What were they doing here? Hudson looked smug, his arm around Abigail's waist, who was now also heavily pregnant, her belly a prominent curve beneath her elegant gown. The auction began, and various artifacts and rare items were presented. My attention was caught by a particular item, a holy vine tree root. It was said to possess incredible healing properties, capable of boosting a wolf's immune system and aiding in recovery from even the most severe illnesses. 100 gold coins, I bid, my voice clear and strong despite the tremor in my hands. 150, a familiar, syrupy voice called out. Abigail, my eyes narrowed. She was bidding against me. 200, I countered, my jaw tight. 250, Abigail chirped, a triumphant smirk on her face. We went back and forth, the bids climbing higher and higher. I knew I couldn't keep up. My heart sank, a bitter taste filling my mouth. I needed that root. I truly needed it. 600 gold coins, Abigail called out, her voice dripping with satisfaction. I felt a wave of despair wash over me. She was going to take it. She was going to take the one thing that could help me, just to spite me. 700 gold coins. A deep, resonant voice suddenly cut through the air, clear and commanding. Everyone in the hall turned. My eyes snapped to the source. It was Alpha Caius. He stood tall, his gaze fixed on the auctioneer, his expression as unreadable as ever. The auctioneer paused, waiting. Abigail's mouth was open, her triumphant smile faltering. She looked at Hudson, who seemed equally stunned. Going once, going twice, sold, to Alpha Caius of the Heaven Valley Pack. The gavel slammed down, echoing through the stunned silence. I watched him, confused, as the auction continued, a dull hum of conversation slowly resuming around me. At the end of the auction, as wolves began to disperse, I felt a gentle touch on my wrist. I turned, and it was Alpha Caius. He held my wrist lightly, his fingers warm against my skin. A strange energy seemed to hum from his touch, a faint glint of green flickering in his piercing eyes, as if he was using his power assessing me. "Miss Lily," he said, his voice low, drawing the attention of those nearby. "This belongs to you." He held out the holy vine tree root, its gnarled form radiating a faint, earthy scent. "I believe you need it more than I do." A gasp rippled through the small crowd that had gathered, drawn by his presence. It was rare for Alpha Caius to speak to anyone, let alone offer such a valuable item. My eyes widened and I looked from the root to his impassive face. Then I saw them. Abigail and Hudson, standing a short distance away, their faces a mixture of shock and fury. Hudson looked like he was about to attack, his wolf barely contained. But I ignored them. My gaze returned to Alpha Caius and I nodded, a profound gratitude swelling in my chest. "Thank you, Alpha," I whispered, taking the root. I don't know how to thank you. I vow to repay your kindness." "There is no need," he said, his gaze unwavering. "Consider it a gesture." "But where can I meet you again?" I pressed, my voice urgent. A faint, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. "I don't usually date married she-wolves, Miss Lily." My cheeks flushed, but I quickly shook my head. "I'm not married, Alpha," I said, my voice firm. "Not anymore." Something flickered in his green eyes then, a subtle shift, a spark of something I couldn't quite name. Interest? Understanding? He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper, meant only for my ears. "I will contact you soon, Miss Lily. Be ready." Hudson's POV. The auction hall had become a blur of angry faces and hushed whispers. Lily, my mate, standing there, brazenly flirting with Alpha Caius of the Heaven Valley Pack. And that look in his eyes when he touched her wrist, when he handed her that damned holy vine tree root. It was possessive. "Hudson, darling, calm down." Abigail's voice, usually a soothing balm, grated on my ears. "It's just Lily trying to get your attention. You know how she is." I shrugged her hand off, my jaw tight. "Merely getting my attention? She's divorcing me, Abi. She's stepping down as Luna, and now she's parading around, letting some alpha touch her, give her gifts, right in front of my face." The words tasted like ash. Divorce. It still felt like a punch to the gut every time I thought it. We were back in the pack house now, the familiar sense of River Valley doing little to calm the storm raging inside me. Abigail followed me into my office. "She's just trying to make you jealous, Alpha." Abigail purred, her voice soft. She leaned against my desk, her pregnant belly a prominent curve. "Don't let her win." "Jealous?" The word echoed in my mind. No, I wasn't jealous. I was furious. Furious that she would betray me like this. Furious that she would throw away our bond, our pack, our future together with our baby. Jealousy was a weak emotion, and I was not weak. It was rage. Pure, unadulterated rage. Yeah, there's no way I am jealous. The reality of the situation was a bitter pill to swallow. Alpha Theron, Lily's father, had wasted no time. A formal delegation from the Rosebud Pack had arrived, demanding the immediate return of the Southern Territory and all the treasures gifted at our mateship ceremony. There was no arguing, no negotiating. I had no choice. The Southern Territory, that rich, fertile land, that silver mine that brought so much wealth to River Valley, it was gone. Just like that, In return, the Rosebud Pack had returned the dowry I had given them, a collection of rare furs, some ancient weapons, and treasures. It was a fair exchange, legally speaking, but it felt like a robbery, a betrayal. How had it come to this? How had everything unraveled so quickly? One minute, I was Alpha Hudson, Luna Lily by my side, our pack strong, our future clear. The next, I was divorced, stripped of valuable land, and my mate was openly flirting with another alpha. It felt like a nightmare, a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. I picked up my phone, my fingers flying across the screen. I had been texting her, calling her, ever since the auction. No answer, not a single reply. It was like she had vanished, cut herself off completely. But I wouldn't let her. I couldn't. She has my baby, Abby, I muttered, pacing my office. My heir. There's no way I'm just letting her walk away. No way. Abigail sighed, a long, drawn-out sound. But Alpha, she clearly doesn't want to be with you. She's made that very clear. I stopped, turning to face her, my eyes blazing. I don't care what she wants. She's my mate. She's carrying my pup. She's just being difficult, testing me. She'll come back. She has to. I grabbed the telephone on my side. It allowed direct communication with my beta. Kyle, I barked into it, not even waiting for a proper connection. Get in here, now. Beta Kyle entered moments later, his face grim. Alpha? He asked, his voice cautious. I want you to send a formal demand to the Rosebud Pack, I commanded, my voice cold and hard. Demand Lily's immediate return. Tell Alpha Theron that if she doesn't come back, if he continues to keep her from me, I will take this to the High Court. I will demand full custody of my pup. I will fight for my heir. Kyle's eyes widened slightly, but he nodded. Understood, Alpha. I'll draft the demand immediately. Good, I said, my voice tight. And keep trying to reach her. Every hour, every single hour. She can't ignore me forever. He left, and I sank into my chair, running a hand through my hair. The anger was still there, simmering beneath the surface, but now it was mixed with a gnawing anxiety. What if she didn't come back? What if she truly meant it? Abigail came over, her arms wrapping around my neck from behind. Don't worry, Alpha, she whispered, her lips brushing my ear. You have me, and our baby. We'll be here for you. Her words were meant to be comforting, but they felt hollow. A distraction. Her presence, her constant needs, her sweet, cloying scent. It was all a reminder of the mess I had made. Later that night, in my bedchamber, Abigail was a warm, eager presence beside me. She pressed herself against me, her hands exploring, her lips seeking mine. I kissed her back, my body responding out of habit, out of need. She moaned softly, her pleasure a low hum in the quiet room. I should have been happy. I should have been content. I had a beautiful she-wolf in my arms, carrying my child. But as I kissed her, as I pleasured her, my mind drifted. It wasn't Abigail's scent I craved. It was Lily's, the sharp, clean scent of winter rain and wild roses. It wasn't Abigail's laugh I heard in my head, but Lily's, bright and clear. It wasn't Abigail's touch I truly longed for, but Lily's, firm and familiar. My eyes were closed, but all I could see was Lily's face at the auction, her eyes cold, distant, yet sparking with something new when Alpha Caius touched her. The image burned behind my eyelids, a constant, irritating flicker. I was with Abigail, but I was thinking of Lily, Lily's POV. 2 days. That's all it took. 2 days after the auction, after Alpha Caius had handed me the holy vine tree root and whispered his promise, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. My heart leaped, a frantic bird in my chest. It was him. The message was short, precise. Meet me at the Azure Bloom Cafe tomorrow, 10 a.m. Come alone. I stared at the screen, a mix of disbelief and wild hope swirling inside me. I hadn't truly expected him to contact me. He was Alpha Caius, the mysterious, reclusive leader of the Heaven Valley Pack. What could I possibly offer him? I was a former Luna in name only, a runaway, sick with a terminal illness, and heavily pregnant. It felt like a dream, too good to be true. But I would go. I would go and beg if I had to. For my pup, for a chance at life, I would do anything. The next morning, I arrived at the Azure Bloom Cafe exactly at 10 a.m. It was a charming place, nestled on a quiet street in a neutral territory town, far from the bustling packlands. As I stepped inside, a young she-wolf, a beta from the Heaven Valley Pack, greeted me. Miss Lily, she said, her voice soft. Alpha Caius is waiting for you. She led me to a secluded booth at the back, draped with sheer curtains for privacy. And there he was, Alpha Caius. He sat at a small table, a cup of steaming tea before him, his green eyes fixed on the entrance. He had definitely rented the whole place down. He rose as I approached, a gesture of respect that surprised me. "Miss Lily," he said, his voice calm and even. "Thank you for inviting me, Alpha." "Just call me Lily," I replied, taking the seat opposite him. My hands trembled slightly, but I forced myself to appear calm. "You said you needed my help," he began, his gaze unwavering, "and that it concerned your health. I am listening." I took a deep breath, gathering my courage. This was it, my chance. "Yes, Alpha. As you can see, I am heavily pregnant and also growing weak each passing day." His eyes held no judgment, only a quiet intensity. "And your health?" "I have cancer, Alpha," I confessed, the words a raw whisper. "A terminal illness. The Pack doctors, they've done what they can, but it's spreading. Heaven Valley Pack is known for its miraculous healing. I've heard stories of your abilities. I need help, Alpha. I need to live. For my baby. He's due any day now, and I can't leave him." My voice cracked, and I fought back the tears. "I will do anything you ask if you can help me live." He listened, his expression unreadable, his gaze never leaving mine. Finally he spoke, his voice low and deliberate. "What you ask, Lily, is complex. To heal a terminal disease, especially one as advanced as yours, requires a deep connection, a complete merging of energies. It is the hardest healing there is." My heart pounded. "But it's possible?" "It is possible," he confirmed, his green eyes holding mine. "But only between mates." My breath hitched. Mates. My wolf stirred, a sudden jolt of understanding, of recognition. He wasn't talking about any mate, he was talking about us. "You mean we would have to be mated?" I stammered, the words barely audible. He nodded slowly. "For the healing to be effective, for the bond to truly mend your body and soul, we would need to be bound, as fated mates." A wave of shock, quickly followed by a fierce resolve, washed over me. This was it, the condition, the price. But it was a price I was willing to pay. More than willing, it was a chance at life, a chance to protect my pup. "Then I will do it," I said, my voice firm, resolute. "I will immediately end my mateship with Alpha Hudson, and I am willing to be mated with you, Alpha Caius. If it means I live, if it means my pup has a mother, then yes." A flicker of something, surprise, approval, crossed his face, quickly masked. "You are decisive, Lily." "I have to be," I replied, my gaze unwavering. "My pup needs me, but I must ask. This is unfair to you, Alpha. You are a powerful Alpha, a very handsome gentleman. To be mated to a she-wolf who is already pregnant, who already has a child, it's hardly a fair exchange for you, and for your future pup, should you have one." He chuckled softly, a low, rumbling sound that sent a strange shiver down my spine. It was the first hint of warmth I had heard from him. "My dear Lily," he said, his green eyes gleaming with a hint of amusement. "You misunderstand. You offer me precisely what I need. My pack, the Heaven Valley Pack, has been without a Luna for years. My position, while strong, lacks the balance that only a Luna can bring. To solidify my standing, I need a Luna. A pup, whether mine or not, will only strengthen that bond, that image of a complete family unit for my pack." He leaned forward slightly, his gaze intense. "Besides, I believe in destiny, Lily. The moon goddess works in mysterious ways. Perhaps this is how our paths were always meant to cross, a mutually beneficial arrangement, wouldn't you agree?" My heart soared. "Yes," I breathed, a genuine smile finally touching my lips. "Yes, Alpha, I agree. A mutually beneficial arrangement." He offered me his hand across the table. "Then the deal is sealed, Lily. I will help you live, and you, in turn, will be my Luna. We will help each other." Hudson's POV. Lily was gone. Really gone. My mind links to her were still met with silence, and Beta Kyle's demands to the Rosebud Pack were met with polite but firm refusals. Alpha Theron was a stone wall, and Lily was a ghost. My pack house, once filled with the familiar, comforting scent of Lily and our shared life, now felt hollow. Every corner, every shadow seemed to whisper her name. The breakfast table, usually set with the simple, hearty meals Lily used to prepare, the ones I secretly loved, even though I never said it out loud, now offered elaborate, unfamiliar dishes that Abigail preferred. Rich, heavy sauces instead of fresh berries. Sweet, cloying pastries instead of savory meats. It was all wrong. My duties as Alpha, once shared with Lily, now felt heavier, more demanding. She had handled so much, quietly, efficiently, without me even realizing the full extent of her contributions. The pack meetings, the minor disputes, the social gatherings, she had managed them all, leaving me free to focus on patrols, training, and inter-pack politics. Now it was all on me. I was getting impatient, more than impatient. I was furious. Furious at Lily for leaving, for abandoning her duties, for abandoning me. Furious at Alpha Theron for enabling her, for keeping her from me. And furious at myself for letting it happen. The pack meeting was already a disaster. We were discussing the fallout from the loss of the Southern Territory. Our pack's financial standing was taking a hit, and the other packs, sensing weakness, were already circling like vultures. Alpha, Gamma Ris, our head of finance, was saying, his voice strained. Our projections for the next quarter are concerning. We'll need to implement stricter rationing on resources, perhaps even consider a temporary halt on some of our expansion projects. A low growl rumbled in my chest. A halt? We can't afford a halt. We need to show strength, not weakness. Find another solution, Reese. But Alpha, he began, looking pale, without the Southern Territory, our reserves are. Just then, the doors to the meeting hall burst open, and Omega stood panting in the doorway, her eyes wide with panic. She looked like she had run all the way from the Alpha quarters. Alpha, she gasped, clutching her side. Alpha Hudson, it's Miss Abigail. Her water broke. My mind snapped from the financial crisis to the immediate, urgent reality. Abigail, the baby. Her water broke? I roared, leaping from my seat. Get the vehicle, now! I rushed out of the meeting hall, the Omega scrambling to keep up. My wolf, usually calm in a crisis, was a whirlwind of frantic energy. We reached the hospital wing in minutes, the vehicle screeching to a halt outside the emergency entrance. The doctors were already there, a gurney waiting. Abigail was being helped out of the vehicle, her face contorted in pain, a low moan escaping her lips. Alpha, she cried, her eyes finding mine, full of fear and desperation. It hurts, the baby's coming. I'm here, Abby, I said, rushing to her side, my hand immediately going to her back, trying to offer comfort. I'm here, we'll get you inside. As the healers carefully transferred her to the gurney, pushing her towards the delivery rooms, I saw it. A flash of pale skin, a familiar shock of dark hair. Another gurney, being wheeled in from the opposite direction, also heading towards the delivery wing. My eyes widened, my breath caught in my throat. Lily. She was on the other gurney, being pushed by two nurses. Her face was incredibly pale, almost translucent, her lips pressed into a thin white line. Her eyes were closed, her brow furrowed in a grimace of pain. Her hands clutched her swollen belly, and her wolf, usually so vibrant, seemed almost dim. She looked frail, exhausted, as if every ounce of her strength was being drained from her. My wolf let out a sharp, surprised whine. Lily, here, now. She was also in labor, at the same time as Abigail. A jolt of something I couldn't name. Shock, concern, a strange, possessive urge, shot through me. My feet instinctively moved, pulling me towards her, towards the gurney that held my mate, the mother of my firstborn. Lily, I called out, my voice raw. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused, pain-filled. For a fleeting moment they met mine, a flicker of something unreadable in their depths before they closed again. Alpha, Abigail's cry pierced the air, sharp and desperate. Hudson, don't leave me. It hurts, please. Her voice, her fear, pulled me back. Abigail was here now, needing me. She was carrying my child too, the child I had promised to protect. Fuck. My steps faltered. Lily was being wheeled away, disappearing into the delivery wing, her pale face a haunting image. But Abigail was right here, her cries echoing in the sterile hallway. My wolf whined again, torn, two she-wolves, two pups, at the same time. Alpha, Abigail wailed, her voice rising to a frantic pitch. My decision was made in a heartbeat. Abigail needed me. She was fragile. Lily was strong. She had always been strong. She would be fine. I turned, my gaze fixed on Abigail, and rushed to her side. I'm here, Abby, I said, my voice firm, trying to project a calm I didn't feel. I'm here. Let's go. Let's get this pup out. I followed her gurney into the delivery room, the doors swinging shut behind me, leaving Lily, my mate, to face her pain alone. A part of me, a small, nagging part, screamed in protest, but I pushed it down. Abigail needed me. This was my responsibility. This was my pup, Lily's POV. Before it all happened, I sat by the window in my room at the Rosebud Pack House. In my hand, I held a small, earthy-smelling concoction, a blend of herbs Dr. Anya had given me to help manage the constant nausea and fatigue. It wasn't a cure, just a temporary balm against the relentless march of the cancer. My body felt heavy, tired, but the holy vine tree root, a gift from Alpha Caius, was already working its subtle magic. I swallowed the bitter liquid. My pup was restless today, as if sensing the impending change. Then, a sudden sharp pop, a warm gush. My eyes widened, my water broke. A wave of instinct washed over me. Omegas, I called out, my voice surprisingly strong, a surge of adrenaline coursing through me. My water broke. Get my parents. Within seconds, the room was a flurry of activity. Omegas, their faces a mix of excitement and concern, rushed to my side. My father, Alpha Theron, and my mother, Luna Sierra, were there almost instantly, their eyes wide with worry. "My brave girl," my mother whispered, her hands stroking my hair as my father helped me to a waiting wheelchair. The pain hadn't truly set in yet, just a tightening, a growing pressure in my lower back. The journey to the PAC hospital was a blur, the sounds of hurried footsteps, the reassuring voices of my parents, the gentle sway of the wheelchair. My mind was focused, honed in on the life growing inside me. As we were rushed through the emergency entrance, the doors swinging open with a whoosh of sterile air, I saw him. Alpha Hudson. He was there, standing in the hallway, his face a mask of shock. He uttered my name, a raw, surprised sound that cut through the growing haze of pain. Lily. My blurry eyes scanned past him, and then I saw her, Abigail. She was also on a gurney, being wheeled in from the opposite direction, her face contorted in pain, her hands clutching her own swollen belly. She was in labor too, at the same time. A cold, sharp wave of betrayal washed over me. All those days, all those nights. When he had been so intimate with me, whispering promises, sharing our bed, building a future, he had been doing the same with her. He had been having his own joy, his own intimate moments with Abigail behind my back while he was enjoying my body the next day. And even now, in this moment of raw vulnerability, of shared pain, he didn't choose me. He didn't choose his child with me. I saw his hesitation, his eyes darting between me and Abigail. Then Abigail cried out, a loud, desperate wail that pulled him away. He rushed to her side, his hand going to her back, his face etched with concern. While I, his mate, the one carrying his supposedly heir, was wheeled away, pale and suffering, alone. The pain intensified, a tightening band around my abdomen radiating to my back. The nurses quickly wheeled me into a delivery room, the bright lights stark against the growing darkness behind my eyelids. My mother was there, her hand gripping mine, her face a blur of worry and encouragement. "You're doing great, my love," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Just breathe. Push for your pup." The contractions came, sharp and relentless, each one a wave of agony that threatened to consume me. My body, already weakened by the cancer, screamed in protest. The fatigue was immense, a heavy cloak that tried to drag me down. My muscles, already wasting, struggled to find the strength to push. "Her blood pressure is dropping," I heard a nurse call out, her voice urgent. "Heart rate is elevated," another responded. The doctor, a kind-faced she-wolf, leaned over me, her voice calm but firm. "Lily, you need to push, darling. Give me everything you have. Your pup is almost here." I pushed. I pushed with every fiber of my being, every ounce of strength I had left. The cancer gnawed at me, a dull, constant ache beneath the sharp, searing pain of labor. My vision blurred, spots dancing before my eyes. My throat was raw from screaming. "Hypoxemia is worsening," a voice said, distant, muffled. "Oxygen saturation is at 88%. "Come on, Lily, one more big push," my mother cried, her voice cracking. I pushed again, a primal roar tearing from my throat, a final immense surge of pain, a tearing sensation, and then a cry, a small, furious wail that cut through the haze of agony. "My pup. It's a boy, Lily," the doctor exclaimed, her voice filled with relief. "A beautiful, healthy boy." They placed him on my chest, a warm, squirming bundle. He was tiny, perfect, his little face scrunched up, his cry strong and clear. I looked at him, my vision swimming, and an overwhelming love washed over me, eclipsing all pain, all betrayal. My son, my beautiful, strong son. I tried to lift my hand to touch his soft head, but my arm felt like lead. The world tilted. The bright lights of the delivery room swam, then faded. The voices became distant whispers, then silence. The warmth of my pup on my chest slowly, terrifyingly receded. The last thing I saw was his tiny, perfect face. The last thing I heard was his cry. And then, darkness. Hudson's POV. Abigail's cries had been loud, but eventually, They softened into whimpers. And then a new sound, a tiny, fragile cry. My pup. The doctors worked quickly, efficiently. There were a few complications, hushed words about a weakness in the pup's lungs, a minor issue with his breathing, but they assured me he would be fine. They him in a soft blanket, a tiny bundle of life, and placed him in my arms. He was small, so incredibly small, but perfect, my son. Abigail, exhausted but triumphant, smiled weakly up at me from the bed. Our baby, Alpha, she whispered, her eyes shining with tears. Our baby, I echoed, my voice thick with emotion. I held him close, inhaling his new pup scent, a mix of milk and fresh linen. He was beautiful. After a while, they took the pup to the nursery, and Abigail drifted off to sleep, worn out from the ordeal. I should have been overflowing with joy, with relief. I was a father. I had my son. But a strange, nagging unease gnawed at me. An ache, a whisper of a presence in the next room. Lily, I could still feel her, a faint echo of our severed bond, a pull I couldn't quite shake. Even with my new son in my arms, a part of my wolf was restless, unsettled. After what felt like hours, with Abigail finally deep in sleep, I couldn't stand it anymore. I had to know. I had to see. I slipped out of Abigail's delivery room. My steps were quiet, almost stealthy, as I made my way to the room next door. The one where they had wheeled Lily. A nurse was just about to enter, her hand on the doorknob. "Excuse me," I said, my voice low, trying to sound casual. "How is the patient inside? I'm her mate." The nurse turned, her eyes holding a flicker of surprise, then pity. "Well," she whispered, her voice soft. "Miss Lily is still unconscious. She had a very difficult delivery, and her underlying health issues, well, they've complicated things. We don't know when she'll wake up." "Unconscious? Still?" My blood ran cold. "What do you mean, still unconscious? What's wrong with her? What underlying health issues?" I demanded, my voice rising, a sudden surge of fear gripping me. Before the nurse could answer, a shadow fell over us. I turned, and my wolf immediately bristled. Alpha Theron, Lily's father. And beside him, tall and imposing, was Alpha Caius of the Heaven Valley Pack. Theron's face was a mask of pure fury, his eyes blazing with a cold rage that made my wolf cower. "What are you doing here, Hudson?" he snarled, his voice a low, dangerous rumble. "You have no right to be here, no right to visit my daughter." My jaw tightened. "She's my mate. She's the mother of my child. I have every right." "You are a good-for-nothing Alpha," Theron spat, his words like venom. "You abandoned her. You left her to suffer alone. Get out. Get out of this hospital and stay away from my daughter." Alpha Caius simply watched, his piercing green eyes fixed on me. There was no anger in his gaze, no emotion at all, just a cold, hard assessment. It made my wolf snarl. He was here. He was seeing Lily. He was seeing my baby. And I, the father, the mate, was being told I had no right. The sheer audacity of it. Caius, who had no connection to Lily, was allowed to see her while I was being pushed away. It didn't sit right. It festered, a growing resentment in my chest. I wanted to lash out, to challenge them. But a part of me, the logical, alpha part, knew this wasn't the time or place. I turned, my fists clenched, and walked away, the burning shame and fury a bitter taste in my mouth. The following days were a torment. I kept sending my beta to the Rosebud Pack, trying to get updates on Lily. The news was always the same. Luna Lily is still unconscious. Her condition is stable, but she hasn't woken up. Still unconscious. Day after day. It fueled the anger, the frustration, but also a cold, calculated thought. If she wasn't waking up, if she couldn't take care of our pup, then I had a clear path. I immediately went to my pack's legal advisor, a sharp-witted she-wolf named Mara. "I need to file for full custody of my son," I stated, my voice devoid of emotion. Mara raised an eyebrow, her gaze shrewd. "On what grounds, Alpha?" "The mother is currently incapacitated," I explained, keeping my voice even. "She gave birth days ago and has yet to regain consciousness. She is unable to care for the child. This poses a risk to my heir's well-being and development. As the father and the Alpha, it is my duty to ensure my son is in a stable, secure environment." Mara nodded slowly, her pen scratching on her notepad. "That is a strong legal argument, Alpha. Given the circumstances and your position, it is highly likely the court will rule in your favor. We can also argue that the mother's current pack, the Rosebud Pack, is not providing adequate care or a suitable environment for the child, given her prolonged unconsciousness." A smirk touched my lips. This was perfect. This was my leverage. This was how I would get my pup back. And if Alpha Caius thought he could just waltz in and claim Lily, or have any right to my baby, he had another thing coming. He wouldn't sit still and let me take the pup. I was sure of it. Third person's POV. A week had passed since Lily's delivery, and still she remained unconscious. Alpha Theron, her father, was a constant presence, his formidable alpha aura dimmed by an agonizing worry. Luna Sierra, her mother, rarely left her bedside, her hand clasped around Lily's limp one. Alpha Caius of the Heaven Valley Pack was also a frequent visitor. Today, he stood beside Alpha Theron, their voices low, a heavy tension in the air between them. "It's been a week, Caius," Alpha Theron rumbled, his voice rough with frustration. His wolf was restless, a low growl barely contained. "Is there nothing more you can do? No way to awaken her? The doctor's here. They're at a loss. They say the delivery, combined with her illness, was too much." Caius's gaze remained fixed on Lily. "Her body is in a state of shock, Alpha Theron. The strain of a natural delivery, especially with a terminal illness, is immense. Her life force is conserving itself. The doctors are right. Medically, there is little more they can do to force her awakening. But your gift," Theron pressed, his voice laced with desperation. "Your healing abilities. You said you could help her. You said you could heal her." Caius turned, his green eyes meeting Theron's. "My healing abilities are powerful, Alpha, but they are not a miracle cure for every ailment. For a terminal disease, especially one that has progressed as far as Lily's, my power alone is not enough to simply will her awake. The healing process requires a deep connection, a mateship. She has to be conscious for that. She has to be awake, and we have to be mated for the healing to begin its slow work." A heavy silence descended upon the room, broken only by the steady beep of Lily's monitors. Theron ran a hand over his face, his frustration palpable. Lily needed Caius's healing, but Caius needed Lily to be awake and to be mated to him, for that healing to truly begin. Days bled into more days. Lily remained unresponsive, a beautiful, fragile shell. Alpha Theron's frustration mounted, turning into a simmering rage that threatened to boil over. He was a powerful alpha, accustomed to solving problems, to protecting his pack, but this was beyond his control. Then, an envelope arrived, a formal legal document emblazoned with the crest of the River Valley Pack. It was a court summons, a petition for the full custody of Lily's newborn son, filed by Alpha Hudson. The grounds were clear. The mother's prolonged unconsciousness rendered her unable to provide care for the child, and as the biological father, Hudson was seeking sole guardianship. Alpha Theron's wolf roared. His eyes blazed with a cold, dangerous fury. "That arrogant, self-serving bastard," he snarled, crushing the papers in his fist. "He dares to demand custody now? After everything he put her through? After he cheated on her?" He immediately summoned his higher-ranking wolves. "I want every River Valley Pack business operating near our territory or within it shut down. Immediately. Cut off their supply lines. Impose every tariff, every restriction. Make them feel the bite of their alpha's foolishness. He wants a fight? He'll get one." The Rosebud Pack moved swiftly, a silent, efficient machine of retribution. River Valley businesses found themselves facing sudden inspections, unexpected fees, and unexplained delays. The message was clear. Alpha Theron was protecting his own, and he was not to be trifled with. Despite the swift action, the fear for Lily remained, a constant, gnawing worry beneath the surface of their anger. Luna Sierra's eyes were red-rimmed, and even Alpha Caius, usually so composed, showed a flicker of concern in his deep green gaze as the days stretched on with no change. They were growing desperate, clinging to the smallest sliver of hope, when the doctor's voice, sharp with excitement, cut through the quiet of the hospital corridor. "Alpha Theron, Luna Sierra, Alpha Caius," she called, her voice trembling with relief. "Lily, she's awake." Lily's POV. Darkness. For what felt like an eternity, there was only darkness, a heavy, suffocating blanket that pressed down on me. Slowly, agonizingly, the darkness began to recede, replaced by a blurry haze. My eyelids felt like lead, heavy and unwilling to open. A dull ache throbbed through my entire body, every muscle screaming in protest. I felt weak, so incredibly weak, as if all the strength had been drained from me. But beneath the exhaustion, a single, urgent thought cut through the fog. My baby. With so much effort, I forced my eyes open. The hospital room was bright, sterile, the scent of antiseptic sharp in my nostrils. A nurse, her face kind, was leaning over me. "My baby," I croaked, my voice a dry, rasping whisper. Where is my baby?" The nurse smiled, a look of relief washing over her face. "He's fine, Miss Lily. He's beautiful. Just a moment, I'll bring him." Tears welled in my eyes, hot and sudden. A wave of gratitude washed over me. I had made it, but the fear was still there, a cold knot in my stomach. The fear of losing my life, of leaving him alone in this cruel world, a world where his own father had abandoned him. Moments later, the nurse returned, a tiny, swaddled bundle in her arms. She placed him gently beside me, and I turned my head, my gaze fixed on his perfect miniature face. He was so small, so innocent, his little fists curled tightly. He was everything. "Oh, my sweet boy," I whispered, tears silently streaming down my temples and into my hair. I felt a pang of guilt, a sharp regret for the days I had been absent. "I'm so sorry, my love, for not being there immediately." Just then, the door opened, and a rush of familiar scents filled the room. My father, his face etched with worry but now alight with relief, strode in. My mother, her eyes red-rimmed but shining with unshed tears, rushed to my bedside, clutching my hand. And then, to my shock, I saw him, Alpha Caius of the Heaven Valley Pack. He stood slightly behind my parents, his presence a quiet force, his piercing green eyes fixed on me. "Lily," my mother cried, her voice breaking as she leaned down to hug me gently, careful of my weakened state. "Oh, my precious girl, we thought we had lost you. You gave us such a scare." My father, usually so stoic, squeezed my hand, his eyes glistening. "My brave daughter, you fought hard." I looked at them, at their tear-streaked faces, at the relief radiating from them, and a wave of warmth spread through me. I was home. Then, my gaze shifted to Alpha Caius. He hadn't moved, hadn't spoken, but his presence was a comforting anchor in the room. He had promised to help me. He had waited. Despite my weakness, a small smile touched my lips. "Alpha Caius," I whispered, my voice still hoarse. "Thank you for waiting." His eyes held mine, and for a moment I felt that familiar hum of energy, a subtle connection. "You are awake, Lily," he said, his voice calm, steady. "That is all that matters." "I am ready," I said, my voice gaining a surprising strength, fueled by a sudden fierce resolve. "I am ready to end the remaining mate bond I have with Alpha Hudson, and I am ready to be mated with you, soon, as soon as possible." Caius simply nodded, a subtle acknowledgement. "As you wish, Lily." The next few days were slow. My body ached, but the presence of my son, his tiny cries, his soft touch, was a constant source of motivation. After a week, I was finally strong enough to leave the hospital. My father had already begun the preparations. He had contacted a very powerful wolf and witch, a reclusive elder known for her mastery of ancient rituals, even those as complex and dangerous as mate bond severing. The ritual was held in a secluded clearing deep within the Rosebud Pack's sacred forest. The witch chanted, her voice a low, guttural hum that vibrated through the earth. I felt a searing pain, a tearing sensation deep within my chest, as if an invisible cord was being ripped from my very soul. My wolf howled. Sweat poured down my body, my vision swam, and I clenched my teeth, enduring the torment. It was hard, harder than anything I'd ever experienced, even the delivery, but I endured it. Finally, with a last shuddering gasp, the pain subsided. I felt light, unburdened. The ache of Hudson's presence, the constant subtle pull of our bond was gone, completely. I was no longer tied to Hudson. The mate bond was severed, Hudson's POV. The pack meeting was occupied with different voices. The loss of the Southern Territory was hitting us hard, and the elders were bickering over budget cuts and resource allocation. My head throbbed, a dull ache behind my eyes. Then it hit me. A searing, excruciating pain ripped through my chest, so sharp and sudden it stole the breath from my lungs. It felt like 1,000 tiny claws tearing at my very soul, a raw, burning agony that made the room spin. My vision blurred, and a gasp escaped my lips. I clutched my chest, my knuckles white, struggling to breathe, to simply exist through the torment. "Alpha, what's happening?" Someone noticed my pain. It was unlike anything I had ever felt. This was different. My wolf howled, a desperate, mournful sound that echoed only in my head. It was fading, the mate bond, Lily. The pain intensified, a wave of nausea washing over me. I slumped forward, my hands gripping the edge of the conference table, trying to anchor myself. The voices in the room faded to a distant hum, replaced by the roaring in my ears, the frantic pounding of my own heart. Alpha? I heard Beta Kyle's voice, distant, concerned. Alpha, are you all right? I couldn't answer. I couldn't speak. I could only ride the wave of agony, clinging to consciousness, as the invisible thread that bound me to Lily, the thread woven by the moon goddess herself, was slowly, agonizingly ripped apart. It lasted for what felt like an eternity, a brutal, soul-shattering minute that stretched into an unbearable eternity. Then, as suddenly as it began, it subsided. I gasped, sucking in a ragged breath, my body trembling. My wolf was silent now, a stunned, wounded creature huddled in the depths of my soul. The bond was gone, severed. I stumbled out of the meeting, ignoring the concerned questions of my pack. I made my way to my bedchamber, my legs feeling like lead. I collapsed onto the bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind reeling. She did it. She actually did it. The thought was a bitter poison, burning in my throat. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't accept it. She had truly left me. For good. I lay there for a long time, staring blankly at the ceiling, the silence of the room pressing in on me. The anger, the denial, the disbelief, they swirled together, a toxic cocktail in my gut. I wanted to rage. I wanted to demand answers. I wanted to go to her, to confront her, to make her see what she had done. I pushed myself up, a sudden surge of desperate energy. I would go to the Rosebud pack. I would make her explain. Then a sound, a small, faint cry. My head snapped towards the door. The baby, my son. My steps faltered. The sudden, desperate urge to confront Lily receded, replaced by a different kind of pull. I sighed, a weary, heavy sound, and changed direction. I walked down the hall to the nursery, the baby's cries growing louder. The door was slightly ajar, and I pushed it open. 2 Omegas, nurses, were hovering over the crib, trying to soothe him. He was fussing, his tiny face red. "What's wrong with him?" I asked, my voice rough. One of the Omegas looked up, startled. "Alpha, he's just a little colicky, Alpha. He gets easily upset. We're trying to calm him." I walked over to the crib, looking down at my son. He was still so small, so fragile. He seemed to be easily sick, unlike what I had expected from an Alpha's pup. He was pale, and his cries were weak, not the strong, booming wails I imagined from my heir. "Where's Abigail?" I asked, my gaze sweeping the room. She wasn't there. The Omega hesitated. "Miss Abigail. She said she needed to rest, Alpha. She's in her room. Rest." My jaw tightened. Our son was crying, easily sick, and she was resting. I turned and left the nursery, my steps heavy. I walked towards Abigail's room, the anger at Lily still simmering, but now mixed with a growing resentment towards Abigail. I pushed open the door to her bedchamber. She was sitting at her vanity, bathed in the soft glow of the lamps, admiring herself in the mirror. She was trying on jewelries, while our son cried in the nursery. "Abigail," I said, my voice flat. She turned, her eyes widening slightly. "Alpha, you're back? Is the meeting over?" She smiled, a bright, dazzling display. "Did you miss me?" "The baby is crying," I stated, ignoring her question. "The Omegas are having trouble soothing him." She shrugged, a graceful, unconcerned movement. "Oh, he'll be fine. The nurses are there. That's what they're for, isn't it?" She turned back to the mirror, holding up a pair of diamond earrings to her ears. "Besides, I'm exhausted, Alpha. Pregnancy is hard work, you know. And then the delivery. I need my rest." She turned back to me, her eyes sparkling with a new kind of anticipation. "So, Alpha," she purred, her voice sweet and hopeful, "now that Lily is gone and we have our son, when will you make me your Luna? When will you make it official?" My mind, still reeling from the brutal severing of my bond with Lily, suddenly felt blank. Make her my Luna? Abigail? Deep inside, a voice, a stubborn, wounded part of my wolf, whispered a single name. Lily. I couldn't answer. I couldn't bring myself to say the words. My eyes drifted to the empty space on the wall where Lily's mateship photo used to hang. The ache in my chest intensified. She was gone. She had truly left me. And in that moment, looking at Abigail, at her expectant face, I realized that no matter how much I had tried to deny it, no matter how much I had pushed Lily away, a part of me, a deep, fundamental part, still couldn't let go of Lily as my Luna. Hudson's POV. It had been days since the mate bond shattered, days since I last saw her, days since I couldn't bring myself to answer Abigail's question about becoming Luna. I was restless, pacing my bedchamber in the dead of night, the silence of the pack house pressing in on me. Abigail was asleep in the next room. My son in the nursery down the hall was also quiet, a rare blessing given his fussiness. Then, a sudden commotion. Hushed whispers, frantic footsteps. Something was wrong. I threw on a pair of pants and rushed out of my room, my senses on high alert. The sounds were coming from the nursery. As I approached, the door burst open and 2 nurses emerged, their faces pale with panic. "Alpha," one of them gasped, her eyes wide. "It's the baby. He's in a bad condition." My heart seized in my chest. "What do you mean, bad condition?" I roared, rushing into the nursery. My son was in his crib, his tiny body writhing, his cries weak and gasping. His skin was mottled, and his breathing was shallow, ragged. "He's having trouble breathing, Alpha," the other nurse stammered, her hands trembling as she tried to soothe him. "His fever spiked suddenly. We need to get him to the hospital immediately." "Get him ready," I barked, my voice sharp with fear. "Now." The next few minutes were a blur of frantic activity. The nurses worked quickly, wrapping my son in a blanket, preparing him for transport. I scooped him up, his tiny, feverish body feeling fragile in my arms. He continued to gasp, his cries fading into weak whimpers. We rushed to the hospital, the vehicle speeding through the dark, quiet streets. The emergency room was a flurry of activity, doctors and healers converging the moment they saw us. "Alpha Hudson, what's happened?" the doctor asked, her face grim as she took my son from my arms. "He spiked a fever," I explained, my voice tight with worry. "He's having trouble breathing. His skin is mottled." They whisked him away to an examination room, the door swinging shut behind them, leaving me in the sterile, brightly lit waiting area. I paced, my wolf a frantic, howling beast inside me. It felt like an eternity before Dr. Allison returned, her face still grim. My heart pounded against my ribs. "Alpha," she said, her voice serious. "Your son is in critical condition. His immune system is severely compromised. We're doing everything we can, but he needs a blood transfusion. Immediately." "Then do it," I commanded, my voice raw. "Whatever he needs, take my blood. Take all of it." "We need the father's blood, Alpha," she explained, her gaze steady. "We've already tested Miss Abigail, but her blood type isn't compatible with his. The baby's blood type matches yours. We'll need to do some rapid cross-matching to ensure full compatibility, but it's highly likely you're his only direct match." "Then do it," I repeated, my voice firm. "Test me. Take my blood, whatever it takes." They led me to a separate room, where they drew vials of my blood, running tests, their faces grimly focused. The hours dragged on, the waiting a torment. I sat in the sterile waiting area, the harsh fluorescent lights doing nothing to ease the gnawing anxiety in my gut. Morning came, painting the sky in hues of gray and pale pink, but I barely noticed. My eyes were fixed on the door to the examination room, waiting for news. Then I saw him. A familiar figure in the hallway, talking in low tones with a doctor. It was Beta Ivan, Lily's father's second in command. What was he doing here? My wolf urged me closer. I moved silently, pressing myself against the cool, tiled wall, trying to hear their conversation without being noticed. Beta Ivan's voice was low, strained. "Any change, Doctor?" Alpha Theron and Luna Sierra are beside themselves with worry. The doctor, a young she-wolf with a tired face, sighed. "I wish I had better news, Beta Ivan. Luna Lily's condition is precarious. The delivery took such a toll, and her underlying illness, we're managing her symptoms, but the cancer is very dangerous at this point already." The words hit me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. My heart, already pounding with anxiety for my son, now seized in a cold, paralyzing grip. Miss Lily's cancer is very dangerous at this point already. The world spun. Cancer. Lily had cancer. Lily's POV. The mate bond with Hudson was truly gone, severed. And the best news of all, I had won custody of my baby. The court, seeing my father's extensive legal arguments about Hudson's neglect and my own dire health, had ruled in my favor. I was satisfied. Happy even. Despite the persistent weeks that clung to me like a shadow, a constant reminder of the cancer still ravaging my body, a new kind of strength bloomed within me. My focus was entirely on Dione. Now, I was just waiting for Alpha Caius, waiting for the preparations for our deal to begin. He had promised to contact me, and I trusted him. My father and my mother had organized a grand banquet. It was a celebration for the newest member of the Rosebud Pack, my baby boy Dione. The event was held in one of the most prestigious hotels owned by our pack. Many attended, wolves from allied packs, high-ranking members of our own. Even some from the Heaven Valley pack were there, their presence a testament to Alpha Caius's influence. And then, I saw him. Alpha Caius. He stood near the entrance, a commanding presence even amidst the throng of powerful wolves. My heart fluttered, a nervous flutter, but also a hopeful one. But then I noticed her. A she-wolf, with striking hair and eyes the color of a clear winter sky, stood beside him. She was beautiful, elegant, and she never left his side. They were close. I heard the whispers from nearby groups of gossiping she-wolves. "Isn't she lovely, Bianca? They say she and Alpha Caius have been childhood friends, always together. Yes, it's a wonder they haven't mated yet. They seem so perfect for each other." A lump formed in my throat, heavy and cold. Childhood friends, always together. My heart sank, a sudden, sharp pang of guilt. It seemed Alpha Caius already had someone he adored, someone who clearly held a special place in his life. I couldn't help but feel selfish. Our deal, it was for my healing, for my life, in exchange for me becoming his Luna, solidifying his position in his pack. But what if his heart truly belonged to another woman already? Was it fair for me to step in the middle, to deprive him of a chance to be with whom he truly loved? My train of thought, a spiraling descent into self-doubt, was abruptly interrupted. Alpha Caius was approaching, the silver-haired she-wolf, Bianca, by his side. He offered a small, polite smile. "Lily," he said, his voice as calm and steady as ever. "It's about time we spoke. I believe it's time we proceeded with our plan." I nodded slightly, managing a weak smile in return. "Alpha Caius." My gaze flickered to Bianca, who was watching me with an unreadable expression. I felt awkward, exposed under her scrutiny. Alpha Caius then excused himself, saying he needed to speak with my father about some formal arrangements. That left Bianca and me alone. Bianca turned to me, her eyes holding a surprising intensity. "Lily," she began, her voice soft, but with an underlying steel. "I believe we need to talk about whatever it is you and Alpha Caius are planning." My guard immediately went up. "I'm not sure what you mean," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "Oh, I think you do," she countered, a faint, sad smile touching her lips. "Caius is too kind. He has a heart that sees suffering and feels compelled to ease it. He must be too kind to see someone die, so he would mate with her to prevent death." Her voice was gentle, but her words were a direct hit. She knew. She knew about my illness, about our deal. My stomach clenched. She was laying it all out, the uncomfortable truth I had tried to ignore. "Don't be selfish, Lily," Bianca continued, her gaze unwavering. "Don't deprive him of a chance to be with whom he truly loves. He deserves happiness. A true mate, a true bond, born of love, not necessity." Her words stung, sharp and painful, hitting a raw nerve. She was right. It was selfish. I was asking him to bind himself to a dying woman, to a woman carrying another Alpha's pup. I felt a pang of guilt, a deep, unsettling ache. But then my gaze drifted to where Dione was sleeping soundly in a specially prepared cradle, surrounded by doting Omegas and my parents. My son. My beautiful, innocent baby. A fierce wave of protectiveness washed over me. Selfish? But what mother wouldn't be selfish for her child? I couldn't die. I couldn't leave him. Not now. Not ever. I met Bianca's gaze, a tired smile touching my lips, but my eyes held a new, unwavering determination. "I understand your concern, Bianca," I said, my voice quiet but firm, "and I appreciate your honesty, but I will proceed with my deal with Alpha Caius, no matter what, even if it means I will be selfish." Her eyes widened slightly, a flicker of surprise in their depths. "This isn't just about me," I continued, my voice gaining strength. "It's about my son, Dione. He needs a mother. He needs me to live, and if this is the only way, then I will take it." Bianca simply stared at me for a long moment, her expression unreadable. She didn't argue further. She simply nodded, a slow, almost resigned gesture. I turned away, the conversation ending, but the weight of her words lingered. I knew what I was doing. I knew the potential cost to Alpha Caius. But deep inside, it was all for my newborn baby. For Dione, I couldn't die, I wouldn't die. Not when he needed me so desperately. Hudson's POV. The words echoed in my mind, a chilling, relentless refrain. Miss Lily's cancer is very dangerous at this point already. Cancer. Lily. Dying. The realization hit me with the force of a battering ram, shattering the carefully constructed walls of denial I had built around myself. Suddenly, it all came rushing back. Not in a slow trickle, but a flood of memories, each one a fresh stab to the gut. The times Lily had looked for me, her eyes pleading, desperate for my attention. The nights she had felt sick, the days she had been pale and weak, and I had dismissed it all as theatrics, as a desperate ploy to gain my attention. The memory of her vomiting blood, her body trembling, her voice a raw whisper begging me to come with her to the infirmary. I had told her I couldn't. Abigail has muscle soreness, I had said. She can't move well. I need to check on her. I had chosen Abigail. I had left Lily to collapse on the cold floor, clutching her belly, while I held another wolf in my arms. All those times I had been a jerk, thinking she was just trying to get my attention, trying to manipulate me. All those times she was sick, it wasn't because she wanted me to look at her. It was because she was actually sick, terminally ill. And I had been blind, deaf, cruel. My wolf, which had been a restless, wounded creature since the bonds severed, now let out a guttural, heartbroken howl. It was a sound of immense grief, of unbearable regret. Lily was dying? The thought sent shivers down my spine, a cold dread that froze my blood. No, Lily couldn't die. I couldn't even imagine a world without Lily. The very idea was a black void, an unbearable emptiness. And now, as the horrifying truth finally fully sank in, I realized it. How important she was to me. How much I had taken her for granted. How much I had truly loved her, even as I pushed her away, even as I blinded myself with Abigail's convenient presence. The memories flooded me, vivid and painful. Our mate bond ceremony, under the full moon, her eyes shining with love and hope. Our marriage, the quiet moments of shared laughter, the comfortable silence, the easy companionship that I had dismissed as mundane. We're going to have a baby. The day we found out she was pregnant with our first baby, the flicker of joy in her eyes, everything. Every single moment, every shared breath, every unspoken understanding, it all came rushing back, crushing me under its weight. All I wanted at that point was to immediately see her. I had to see her. I had to tell her. I had to beg her forgiveness. I had to fix this. I turned from the hallway, my legs moving on their own, a desperate urgency propelling me forward. I had to find her. I had to get to the Rosebud Pack. I had to see Lily. I was about to burst out of the hospital doors, ready to demand a vehicle, ready to run all the way to her, when a voice called out to me, "Alpha Hudson?" I stopped, my body rigid, my mind still reeling from the crushing weight of my realization. I turned slowly. It was Dr. Allison, the head doctor. Her face was grim, her eyes holding a mixture of pity and a strange, knowing sadness. "Yes?" I managed, my voice rough, impatient. Every fiber of my being screamed to go to Lily. She hesitated, glancing around the empty hallway before meeting my gaze. "Alpha, if you have a moment, I need to speak with you. In my office." Hudson's POV. The doctor's office was small, sterile, and suddenly felt suffocating. Dr. Allison sat across from me, her face grim, the medical charts spread out before her. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Alpha Hudson," Dr. Allison began, her voice soft but firm. "I have the results of the comprehensive blood tests we ran on your son. There's something you need to know. Something very important." I leaned forward, my jaw tight. "What is it, doctor? Is he going to be all right? What about the blood transfusion?" "The blood transfusion was successful," she reassured me, a flicker of relief in her eyes. "We managed to acquire a compatible blood pack from a neighboring pack hospital. Your son is stable now, and we're cautiously optimistic about his recovery." A wave of profound relief washed over me, so intense it almost made my knees buckle. My son, he was going to be all right. But then her expression shifted again, becoming serious, almost apologetic. "However, Alpha," she continued, her gaze unwavering, "the blood tests revealed something unexpected, something shocking. Based on the genetic markers and the blood typing, there is a 99% chance that you are not the biological father of Miss Abigail's pup." The words hit me like a physical blow. My mind went blank. "What?" The word was a raw whisper, barely audible. "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" "I'm his father." "He's my son." Dr. Allison sighed, her voice filled with a weary compassion. "Alpha, the blood types simply do not match. Your son's blood type is different from yours. Neither you nor Luna Abigail possess that gene. It means someone else is the father." She pointed to the charts, her finger tracing lines of complex medical jargon that I barely registered. "The genetic markers, they simply do not align with your lineage, Alpha." My world tilted. It stopped. It shattered. Not the father, the child I had claimed, the child I had lied about, the child I had chosen over Lily wasn't mine. A cold, sickening dread began to spread through my veins, replacing the relief, replacing the fear for my son. This couldn't be true. It couldn't. Then a memory, hazy and unwelcome, began to surface. The night Abigail had first told me, the night she had claimed we had been together. I had been celebrating a victory on the borders, a successful negotiation with a rival pack. I had drunk more than usual, much more. And Abigail had been there, weeping, distraught over her failed mateship, her rejection. I remembered comforting her, my arm around her shoulders, her head on my chest. I remembered the heavy scent of the pack's strongest ale, the blurred edges of the room, and then nothing. The next morning, waking up naked beside her, the shock, the confusion, and her words whispered against my skin, her eyes wide and innocent. "Oh, Alpha, I can't believe I'm so sorry. I was so upset." But it happened. Weeks later, her tearful confession, "Alpha, I'm pregnant. It's yours. I swear it." I had believed her, like a fool. But now the pieces clicked into place, forming a horrifying, undeniable picture. It was rare for an alpha to get truly drunk, to black out. Our wolf blood, our enhanced senses, our natural resilience, it gave us an incredibly high tolerance for alcohol, for poisons. I had never blacked out before. Not truly, not like that. Did she spike my drink that night? And Abigail, her tears, her distress, her sudden appearance in my bed, her immediate claim of pregnancy. And now this, it was all suspicious. Every single detail. She lied. Abigail lied to me. She tricked me. She manipulated me. She used me. The realization was a physical blow, a sharp, searing pain that made me gasp. My wolf, which had been stunned and grieving, now erupted in a silent, furious roar. Betrayal. Deception. It was a scent that filled my nostrils, a bitter, metallic taste in my mouth. All this time, I had believed her. I had defended her. I had chosen her. I had pushed Lily away, ignored her pain, dismissed her pleas, all for a lie, for a child that wasn't even mine. The guilt, already a crushing weight, intensified, becoming unbearable. Lily, her cancer, her pain, her desperate attempts to tell me. And I had been too blind, too caught up in Abigail's web of lies to see it. Dr. Allison was still speaking, her voice a distant hum, but I barely heard her. My mind was a whirlwind of rage, regret, and a sickening realization of how utterly foolish I had been. Abigail, she had played me for a fool, and Lily had paid the price. Hudson's POV. The drive back to the pack house was a blur. My hands gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white, my mind a storm of disbelief and simmering rage. Not the father, 99% chance. The words echoed in my head, a chilling truth. It couldn't be. Abigail couldn't have manipulated me like that. She couldn't have played me for such a fool, but she did. In the back of my mind, a cold, logical part of my wolf knew it. Every suspicious detail, every convenient coincidence, every lie I had swallowed, it all clicked into place, forming an undeniable picture of deceit. The sudden blackout, her immediate claim, her perfectly timed pregnancy, her constant demands, always pulling me away from Lily. It was all a calculated, cruel game. I, Alpha Hudson, had been played by a she-wolf I had trusted, protected, and chosen over my own fated mate. The shame burned hotter than any anger. I burst through the pack house doors, ignoring the startled glances of the Omegas and warriors in the main hall. My steps were heavy, each one fueled by a cold, righteous rage. I didn't stop until I reached Abigail's bedchamber. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, slamming it against the wall with a thunderous crash that echoed through the quiet wing. Abigail was inside, sitting at her vanity, humming softly as she brushed her hair. She looked up, her eyes widening in surprise, then a flicker of fear. "Alpha," she began, her voice sweet, innocent. "What's wrong? Is it the baby?" I strode towards her, the medical results clutched in my trembling hand. My wolf was snarling, a low, dangerous rumble deep in my chest. "Don't you dare," I growled, my voice rough, laced with venom. "Don't you fucking dare speak of the baby. Don't you dare lie to my face again, Abigail." I slammed the papers onto her vanity, scattering her perfumes and lotions. Her eyes darted to the document, then back to me, her face draining of all color. She went pale, as if she had seen a ghost, her carefully constructed facade crumbling before my eyes. What is this?" she stammered, her voice a thin, reedy whisper. This, I snarled, pointing a trembling finger at the document, is the truth. The truth about your baby. The truth that you lying, manipulative bitch, have been hiding from me. Her eyes widened further, and then, as if on cue, the tears started. She slid from her chair, falling to her knees, her hands clasped together in a desperate plea. Alpha, please. I don't know what you're talking about. It's our baby. I swear it. Don't lie to me, I roared, my voice shaking with fury. The blood tests don't lie, Abigail. 99% chance. He's not mine. He's not my son. He's not my heir. She whimpered, her body trembling, tears streaming down her face. Please, Alpha, forgive me. I was so scared, so alone. My mate rejected me. I just wanted a family. I wanted you. You wanted me? I scoffed, a bitter, humorless laugh escaping my lips. You wanted my name, my protection, my pack. You wanted to steal my life, my mate, my Luna, and replace her with your pathetic lies. I leaned over her, my voice low and dangerous, each word dripping with contempt. You are a liar, Abigail, a conniving, manipulative, worthless piece of filth. You gaslit my Luna. You drove her away. You almost killed her with your twisted games. And all for a child that isn't even mine. My voice, raw with rage, echoed through the quiet wing. I could hear the sounds of other pack members drawn by the commotion, gathering in the hallway, listening. I didn't care. Let them hear. Let them know the truth of the snake I had sheltered. Abigail sobbed, her body racked with tremors. I love you, Alpha. I swear. I didn't know what else to do. I was desperate. Please, don't cast me out. I have nowhere to go. I don't know what I'll do without you. Her words, once so effective, now sounded hollow, pathetic. I was done. Done with her lies, done with her manipulation, done with her presence. Get out, I said, my voice cold, devoid of any emotion now but a chilling finality. Get out of my pack, get out of my sight, and never ever appear before me again. She looked up, her eyes wide with a desperate plea. But the baby, Alpha, he's sick, he needs care. He's not my baby, I snarled, the words a fresh wound. And he's not my concern anymore. Get out, Abigail, now. She crumpled, a broken, sobbing mess on the floor. But she knew. She knew there was no arguing, no begging, no manipulation that would work now. The truth was out. That day, Abigail had no choice but to leave the River Valley Pack. She gathered her few belongings, her cries echoing through the pack house, and walked out, her head bowed, her shoulders slumped, Hudson's POV. My world was crushing down to ashes. The revelation about Abigail, the truth about her lies, the sickening realization that my son wasn't mine, it had ripped through me. The pain of the severed mate bond, the knowledge of Lily's illness, it all converged into a suffocating despair. I had lost everything. My Luna, my heir, my dignity. I spent the entire week drowning myself in alcohol, the bitter burn in my throat, a welcome distraction from the searing agony in my chest. The pack house felt empty. I felt like the world had conspired against me, that fate itself had turned its back. The only woman who truly loved me, the one I had pushed away, was no longer by my side. In my drunken stupor, I tried so hard to call for Lily, my fingers fumbling with my phone, my mind link a desperate, unanswered cry in the void. No answers, just the cold, deafening silence that had become my constant companion. Beta Kyle ended up picking me up from various taverns, dragging me back to the pack house. The whole week was a blur of self-pity and regret. I was devastated. I had lost Lily, the woman I now realized was my anchor. I couldn't even see our baby, my true son, the one she had given birth to. I had no custody of him, no right to claim him, thanks to my own foolishness. But one thing was for sure, I would take Lily back. I had to. I would fix this. I would make her see, or so I thought. The next day, I had no choice but to drag myself out of bed. There was a continent-wide Alpha conference, a mandatory gathering of pack leaders. My pack standing had taken a hit, and I couldn't afford to look weak, even if I felt utterly broken. I forced myself to shower, to shave, to put on the ceremonial Alpha attire, each movement a painful effort. The conference hall was a grand space, filled with the scents of powerful alphas and their entourages. The air hummed with hushed conversations, political maneuvering, and the subtle flexing of power. I moved through the crowd like a ghost, my eyes scanning, searching. And then I saw her, Lily. She stood near a large window, bathed in the soft morning light, her dark hair a stark contrast to her pale skin. She looked different, stronger somehow, more radiant, despite the whispers of her illness. My heart leaped. a desperate, hopeful surge in my chest. She was here. She was real. I was about to go to her, to stride across the room and demand her attention, to beg for a moment of her time. I was so desperate, so consumed by the need to reach her that I started walking, fast, my wolf urging me forward. But then I saw who she was with. Alpha Caius, the mysterious alpha of Heaven Valley Pack. He stood beside her, his hand resting casually, possessively on her waist. His green eyes were fixed on her, a soft, almost tender expression on his usually unreadable face. A surge of raw, irrational jealousy erupted within me, a hot, burning wave that consumed all reason. My wolf snarled, a guttural sound of possessive rage. He was touching her. My Lily. He was looking at her like that, like she was his. My vision blurred, and I felt how my irrationality got the best in me. All the regret, all the self-pity, all the pain of the past week coalesced into a blinding fury. I strode towards them, my steps heavy, deliberate, my eyes fixed on Caius's hand on her waist. "Lily," I snarled, my voice rough, laced with venom. I ignored Caius, my gaze fixed solely on her. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" She turned, her eyes meeting mine, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a flicker of surprise, then a cold, hard resolve. She didn't flinch, didn't back away. "Hudson," she said, her voice flat, devoid of any emotion, "you have no right to speak to me like that." "No right?" I scoffed, my voice rising. "I'm your alpha, and you're here, parading around with him after everything? After you abandoned me? After you broke our bond?" My eyes darted to Caius, a challenge in my gaze. He simply watched, his face impassive, his hand still on Lily's waist. "I want you back," I pleaded, the words tearing from my throat, raw and desperate. "I need you back. Come back to River Valley. Be my Luna again. Fuck, I'll give you the world. I swear it." My voice was loud, drawing the attention of other alphas, other pack members. They watched, their faces a mixture of curiosity and thinly veiled judgment. I didn't care. All that mattered was Lily. "Abigail is gone now," I blurted out, the words tumbling over each other. "And the baby isn't even mine. She lied to me, okay? So you don't have anyone to worry about. I already kicked her out. There's no one else now, just you. So come back to me and I'll do anything. I'll find a solution to your disease, I fucking swear it." The words, a desperate torrent of promises and confessions, spilled from me. I was laying it all bare, my shame, my regret, my desperate need. Lily's eyes, however, hardened. Her lips curled into a sneer, a look of profound disgust. "Shut up, Hudson." Her voice was low, but it cut through the noise of the hall, sharp and clear. "Just shut up." She stepped forward, pulling away from Caius's touch, her gaze fixed on mine, unwavering. "You think this changes anything? You think now, after everything you've done, after you abandoned me, after you chose her, after you let me suffer alone, that I would ever come back to you?" Her voice trembled with a controlled fury. "You didn't even seem like you regretted anything until you lost everything. It's too late, Hudson. Far too late." She turned her back to me and walked away. Too late. Lily's words, sharp and final, echoed in my mind as I stood in the bustling conference hall, watching her walk away with Alpha Caius. The shame, the fury, the desperate need to fix everything surged through me. But I wasn't done, not by a long shot. I would do everything. I left the conference early, ignoring the whispers and curious glances. My destination was clear, the Rosebud Pack. I would go there, and I wouldn't leave until Lily faced me. I arrived at the Rosebud Pack gates just as dusk was settling. The guards, recognizing me, immediately stiffened, their expressions grim. "I'm not leaving," I stated, my voice low and firm. "I will stay here at these gates until Lily shows herself. I need to speak with her." They tried to argue, to tell me she wouldn't see me, but I simply stood my ground. The rain intensified, soaking my clothes, chilling me to the bone, but I didn't budge. Hours passed. The drizzle turned into a steady downpour, the wind whipping around me, but I remained. I would not leave, not until she faced me. It was almost midnight when the massive gates of the Rosebud Pack finally creaked open. A single figure emerged, silhouetted against the dim light of the pack house. It was Lily. She held a large black umbrella, shielding herself from the rain, her face a pale, determined mask. My heart leaped, a desperate surge of hope. She had come. "Lily," I said, my voice raw, desperate as I stepped forward, ignoring the cold rain. "Thank the moon goddess. You came." Her eyes, shadowed by the umbrella, were cold, devoid of any warmth. Go, Hudson, she said, her voice flat, emotionless. Just go. No matter what, I will never come back to you. No, I pleaded, my voice cracking. I closed the distance between us, desperate to make her understand. You can't say that. What about our baby, our son? He would grow up without a father. What if you died because of the cancer? He would be left alone, Lily. Alone in this cruel world. I knew it was a low blow, a desperate manipulation, but I was beyond caring. I was losing everything. Her face contorted, a flicker of pain in her eyes, but it quickly hardened into a cold fury. Don't you dare, Hudson, she snarled, her voice low and dangerous. Don't you dare use my son or my illness against me. You forfeited your right to him, to me, the moment you chose her, the moment you abandoned me, the moment you lied and cheated and left me to suffer alone. She took a step back, her gaze unwavering, filled with a profound, chilling disgust. Just hearing you is painful enough. There's no hope for you, Hudson. No matter what, I will never, ever come back into your life. You deserve what you have now. She turned, her back to me, and walked back towards the open gates, her figure disappearing into the darkness and the pouring rain. The gates slowly, irrevocably closed behind her, leaving me standing alone in the downpour, the cold rain mingling with the hot, bitter tears that finally streamed down my face. The next day was a blur of numb despair. I was back at the pack house, the silence louder than any noise. Then Beta burst into my office, his face pale, his eyes wide. He held a tablet in his trembling hands. Alpha, he gasped, his voice strained. You need to see this. It's breaking news. I looked at him, my mind dull, my heart a leaden weight in my chest. What else could possibly go wrong? He thrust the tablet into my hands. The screen showed a news report, a live broadcast. The headline screamed, Heaven Valley Pack confirms mate bond between Alpha Caius and Lily of Rosebud Pack. My breath hitched, my eyes widened, staring at the screen in disbelief. No, it couldn't be. The news anchor's voice, bright and excited, filled the room. In a groundbreaking announcement, the reclusive Heaven Valley Pack has confirmed the mate bond between their enigmatic Alpha, Caius, and the recently divorced Lily of the Rosebud Pack. This marks the first time Alpha Caius has been officially linked to a she-wolf, sending shockwaves through the continental packs. My gaze snapped to the video footage playing on the screen. It was an ambush interview. Lily and Caius walking out of a prestigious hotel, their hands clasped. Lily looked radiant, happy, and Caius, his face usually so impassive, had a faint, almost imperceptible smile. A reporter, jostling for position, thrust a microphone towards them. Alpha Caius, Miss Lily. Is it true, Miss Lily, that you are terminally ill? Is this mate bond a desperate attempt to save your life? They knew about her cancer. Alpha Caius, however, simply smiled, a cold, confident smirk that sent a fresh wave of fury through me. There's nothing to worry about my soon-to-be Luna being ill, he said, his voice calm and authoritative, radiating power. As the Heaven Valley Pack is known for its healing abilities, and now that the mateship has happened between Lily and myself, Lily is expected to heal from her disease. Completely. He paused, his green eyes gleaming with a possessive triumph. And yes, he added, his gaze sweeping over the reporters, Lily and I will soon be married. A formal ceremony will be announced in due course. Married. To him. The remote control was in my hand. I didn't even realize I had picked it up. With a roar of pure, unadulterated rage, I slammed my thumb down, turning off the television. The screen went black, plunging the room into a sudden, deafening silence. No, I roared, thrashing the remote across the room. It hit the wall with a sickening crack, shattering into pieces. No way, that can't happen. She's not marrying another Alpha, not when we have a baby, not when she's mine. Hudson's POV. The news report, Caius's smug pronouncement of his mate bond with Lily, his promise to heal her, his declaration of their impending marriage, it had shattered the last vestiges of my denial. My world, already crumbling, now felt like it was being ground to dust. I spent the next few days in a haze of furious planning. I couldn't let this happen. I wouldn't. Lily was mine. Our pup was mine. I would go to Heaven Valley. I would demand her back. I would fight for her. I gathered my most elite warriors, the strongest wolves in my pack. Beta stood by my side as we prepared for the journey. The journey to Heaven Valley Pack was long, the miles ticking by like a death knell. But the thought of Lily, of her with Caius, fueled my rage, pushing aside any doubt. We arrived at the Heaven Valley Pack borders under a cold, gray sky. The territory was unlike any I had seen, ancient, powerful, with a stillness that spoke of deep, hidden strength. The air itself seemed to hum with an unseen energy. As we approached the main gates, a line of Heaven Valley wolf warriors emerged, their stances unyielding, their eyes cold and watchful. They were well-trained, disciplined, their fur gleaming, their muscles rippling under their skin, and their numbers, they seemed endless. My wolf, usually dominant and fearless, felt a flicker of unease. Alpha Hudson, a voice boomed, deep and resonant. Alpha Caius emerged from the ranks of his warriors, his presence radiating an undeniable power that dwarfed my own. He was even more imposing on his own territory, surrounded by his pack. His green eyes were fixed on me. Caius, I snarled, my voice tight with barely contained fury. I'm here for Lily. She's my Luna. She's carrying my pup. You have no right to her. He simply watched me, his face impassive. Nonsense. Lily is no longer your mate, Alpha Hudson. The bond has been severed. And her pup is hers. You forfeited your claim long ago. I demand her return, I roared, my wolf straining against my control, ready to lash out. Or there will be war. I will tear your pack apart. I will burn this territory to the ground. My warriors shifted, their growls rumbling, ready to follow my command. The Heaven Valley wolves responded in kind, their snarls echoing, their bodies tensing for battle. But as I looked at Caius, at his unwavering gaze, at the sheer number of his disciplined, powerful wolves, a cold, hard truth began to sink in. His pack was stronger. His warriors were more numerous, better equipped, their weaponry glinting in the dim light. My own pack, weakened by the loss of the Southern Territory, still reeling from internal turmoil, was not ready for this. We would be decimated. I would lead my wolves to their deaths. The irrational fury that had driven me here began to recede, replaced by a chilling realization. I was outmatched, completely. My wolf, for the first time in a long time, felt a sense of defeat. You speak of war, Alpha Hudson? Caius's voice was calm, almost bored, but it held an undeniable threat. You will find that a war with the Heaven Valley Pack is a war you cannot win. You will lose everything. Your pack, your life, and the last shred of your dignity. My jaw tightened. He was right. I had to back down, for the lives of my warriors. The bitterness was a raw, burning sensation in my throat. Just then, the ranks of the Heaven Valley wolves parted, and a figure emerged, Lily. She walked towards me, her head held high, her eyes blazing with a cold, furious light. She was dressed simply, but she radiated a power, a confidence I had never seen in her before. My heart leaped, a desperate, irrational hope, even as my wolf whimpered in defeat. She stopped before me, her gaze unwavering, and then her hand flew. A sharp, stinging slap echoed through the tense silence, the force of it snapping my head to the side. My cheek burned, but the pain was nothing compared to the searing agony in my soul. You arrogant, thick-headed fool, she snarled, her voice trembling with a raw, barely contained fury. How many times do I have to tell you, Hudson? How many times do I have to make it clear? I told you to give up. I told you to leave me alone. I told you I was done with you. Can't you take a hint? Her words, sharp and precise, cut deeper than any blade. I was clear every single time we met. I am done with you. I will never forgive you after everything. You weren't there when I was suffering. You weren't there when I was sick. You weren't there when I was delivering our child, your firstborn, while you were with her baby. Her eyes blazed, filled with a righteous anger that made my wolf cower. I am marrying Caius. Whether you like it or not, I am his mate now, and I am finally free of you. She turned her back to me and walked back towards Caius. He offered her his hand, and she took it, her fingers intertwining with his, a clear, undeniable sign of their bond. I stood there alone, my cheek burning, my world shattering around me. My pack behind me, silent, defeated. And Lily, walking away, hand in hand with another alpha, her words echoing in my ears, finally free of you. I had no choice. I had to leave. I had to back down. This time, there was no denial, no desperate hope. This time, I truly knew, deep inside, that there was no chance anymore. She was gone, forever, and it was all my fault, Lily's POV. The air in Heaven Valley Pack was different. It had been a week since I arrived, a week since I had faced Hudson at the border and delivered my final words. And in that week, I had felt a level of care I hadn't experienced in years. Alpha Caius was true to his word. He made sure I was comfortable, that Dione was well cared for. The Omegas in the nursery were gentle, attentive, and the pack healers, under Caius's direct instruction, were already beginning the preliminary steps for my healing, preparing my body for the process. I knew what we had was a deal, a mutually beneficial arrangement. I would be a useful Luna, bringing a much-needed balance to his pack, solidifying his position. In return, we would mate, and his unique healing abilities would slowly, painstakingly, heal me from the terminal disease that threatened to steal my life. It was logical, practical. Yet, as the days unfolded, a strange warmth began to bloom in my chest, something beyond mere gratitude. Caius was attentive, thoughtful. He was incredibly hands-on with the wedding preparations, respecting every wish, every small detail I expressed. He moved as if he genuinely cared about my comfort, my happiness. He would ask about my preferences for the ceremony, for the new Luna chambers, for Dion's nursery. He was present, truly present, in a way Hudson had never been. It scared me, because my heart, so recently shattered, so carefully guarded, felt a dangerous flutter. I didn't want to feel anything beyond gratitude and respect. I couldn't afford to. Not when I knew the true nature of our arrangement. Not when I had seen Bianca. After I made sure Dion was sound asleep in his crib, his tiny chest rising and falling with peaceful breaths, I decided to take a walk. The pack house was quiet. I needed time to think, to sort through the confusing tangle of emotions swirling inside me. The Heaven Valley territory was breathtaking, even at night. As I walked along a winding path lost in thought, I saw her, Bianca. She was sitting on a stone bench under a massive oak tree, her silver hair gleaming in the moonlight, her head bowed in deep contemplation. She seemed as lost in thought as I was. She looked up as I approached, her eyes the color of a clear winter sky, meeting mine. A flicker of surprise, then a faint, sad smile touched her lips. "Hi," she said, her voice soft, a simple greeting that held no malice. "Hi," I replied, stopping a respectful distance away. "Just taking a walk." "Me too," she murmured, her gaze drifting back to the moonlit forest. "Too much on my mind to sleep." An awkward silence stretched between us. I knew what was on her mind. It was on mine too. "How are the preparations for the marriage?" she asked, her voice quiet. "Everything is going smoothly," I said, perhaps a little too quickly. "Alpha Caius is very hands-on. He's making sure everything is perfect." She nodded slowly, her gaze still distant. "He always does. He's very dedicated, to his pack, to his duties." She paused, then took a deep breath. "I always expected that he would choose me someday." My heart clenched. The words, spoken so simply, yet carrying such a weight of unspoken longing, hit me hard. "But," she continued, her voice tinged with a faint bitterness, "unlike you, Luna Lily, I am a mere Omega, with no powerful background, no alpha father, no political connections. And that must be the reason why I wasn't chosen, despite being with Alpha Caius for so long, despite everything." She sighed, a long, weary sound, and then smiled sadly, a heartbreaking curve of her lips. "I should head to my quarters already. Get some sleep." She pushed herself up from the bench, her movements graceful, her eyes still holding that deep, quiet sorrow. "Bianca," I began, but she simply nodded, a silent farewell, and walked away, disappearing into the shadows of the trees. I stood there for a long time, the cold night air doing little to cool the turmoil in my mind. Her words echoed, a painful truth. She loved him. She had been by his side for years, quietly, faithfully, hoping for a future that was now being taken by me, by our deal. I thought about Caius, his strength, his unwavering gaze, his gentle attentiveness during the wedding preparations. He was moving as if he cared so much about me, as if he genuinely desired this bond. But was it genuine desire, or was it simply his dedication to his pack, to his duties, to the deal we had made? Was he truly kind enough to sacrifice his own heart, his own happiness, to save a dying she-wolf? The thought gnawed at me. I didn't want to be a leverage. I didn't want to be the reason he couldn't be with the woman he truly loved. He had been so good to me. He had taken care of me, taken care of Dione. He had offered me a chance at life, a chance to be a mother to my son, but at what cost to him? I walked back to the pack house, the questions swirling in my mind, refusing to settle. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the image of Bianca's sad smile haunting me. I thought about it all night, wrestling with the guilt, the uncertainty, the overwhelming sense of unfairness. Lily's POV. The next morning, I woke to a soft, rhythmic shushing sound. I pushed myself up, my body feeling lighter, stronger than it had in months. The healing, subtle but undeniable, was already beginning. The constant ache of the cancer had lessened, replaced by a gentle warmth that spread through my veins. Alpha Caius's power, flowing through our mate bond, was truly working. I looked towards the sound, and my heart skipped a beat. There, by Dion's crib, was Alpha Caius. He was holding my baby boy, gently swaying, his deep voice a low, soothing rumble as he tried to calm Dion's soft whimpers. He was here again, even though it was early in the morning, taking care of my son. Looking at him, at the tenderness in his eyes as he looked at Dion, I felt a strange flutter in my chest. He was so easy to like, so kind, so present. But then, the memory of my conversation with Bianca last night, her sad eyes and quiet confession, washed over me, and I quickly pushed those thoughts aside. Our mate bond was a deal, a necessity, nothing more. I joined them for breakfast in the grand dining hall, the morning sun streaming through the tall windows. Caius sat at the head of the table, Dion cradled in his arm, gently feeding him a bottle. He looked up as I entered, a soft smile touching his lips. "Good morning, Lily," he said, his voice warm. "Dion decided to greet the sun early today." "Good morning, Alpha Caius," I replied, taking my seat. I watched him with Dion for a moment, the natural ease with which he held my son, the gentle way he stroked his tiny head. It was a sight that tugged at something deep inside me. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. This conversation needed to happen, for the clarity of our arrangement. "Alpha Caius," I began, my voice a little hesitant. "I wanted to talk to you about our mateship." He raised an eyebrow, his green eyes meeting mine, a flicker of something unreadable in their depths. "Yes, Lily? Since our mateship is out of a deal," I continued, choosing my words carefully, "I wouldn't mind if you liked another woman, if your heart belonged to someone else." I forced a small, reassuring smile. "You shouldn't be worried. I will do everything to be the perfect Luna for your pack. And I am truly grateful. I can already feel myself slowly healing because of your powers, because of our bond." His expression shifted. His eyebrows furrowed, and a hint of something akin to offense flickered in his eyes. He slowly gave Dion to one of the maids, his gaze unwavering. "Where did you get such thoughts, Lily?" he asked, his voice low, a surprising edge to it. "What makes you believe I would like another woman now that we are mated?" My heart pounded. I just thought I heard whispers. And Bianca. He interrupted me, his hand reaching across the table, covering mine. His touch was warm, firm, and sent a jolt through me. "Did she talk to you?" His voice was calm, but there was an intensity in his gaze that made me hold my breath. "Lily, I have no other feelings or connection to Bianca aside from our friendship. She's a loyal pack member, a trusted friend, nothing more. If her presence bothers you, I will ensure she avoids you. I will avoid her myself, if that is what you wish." I immediately shook my head, my hand still under his. No, Alpha, you don't need to do that. You shouldn't. I genuinely understand. After all," I paused, my voice softening, "you don't like me as a woman at all, do you? Our bond is for healing, for your pack. I understand." He brought his fork and knife down onto his plate with a soft clatter, his gaze hardening, a flicker of something akin to frustration in his eyes. He leaned forward, his voice dropping, intense and clear. "Lily, let me be very clear. I do not like Bianca. That should be clear. There are no romantic feelings, no deeper connection between us. And as for not liking you as a woman..." He paused, his green eyes boring into mine, and my heart hammered against my ribs. My wolf, usually quiet, suddenly stirred, a frantic flutter of anticipation. "The truth is, Lily," he continued, his voice a low, steady rumble, "I could ask any woman out there to be my Luna, any she-wolf in any pack, but I chose you. It is because I have liked you for years now. I liked you first." My breath hitched, my mind reeled. He liked me? For years? "I didn't want to admit my feelings this early," he went on, his gaze softening slightly, "because I didn't want to scare you off. You had been through so much. I wanted to give you space, time to heal, time to adjust. But now, seeing that you are bothered by the presence of another woman, a woman whom you should not be worried about in the first place, I realize it's better to clear things up. I care a lot for you, Lily, more than you know." I was shocked, stunned. My mind struggled to process his words. He liked me. He had liked me for years. The thought sent a dizzying wave of warmth through me, a sense of relief and happiness. My heart soared, and my wolf, which had been so wounded, so guarded, let out a soft, joyful whimper. It was giddy, happy to hear it. It was truly reassuring to hear. All my worries, all my guilt about Bianca, about our deal being purely transactional, began to melt away. Alpha Caius, I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. I don't know what to say. I had no idea. He smiled, a genuine, warm smile that transformed his usually stoic face, making his green eyes crinkle at the corners. You don't have to say anything, Lily. It's okay. I'm not pressuring you to like me back. We should take it slow, get to know each other, truly know each other. He reached out, his thumb gently stroking the back of my hand. We have a lifetime now, Lily. A lifetime to heal. A lifetime to build our pack. A lifetime to explore this new bond. Caius's POV. Years ago, the world was a different place. My pack, Heaven Valley, was as reclusive as ever, and my life was a quiet rhythm of duties, training, and the wisdom passed down through my lineage. I rarely ventured far, preferring the solitude of our sacred lands. But then, a mandatory interpack summit for young alphas and their heirs brought me to a prestigious university, a neutral ground where future leaders were meant to mingle and learn. It was there, in a bustling stadium, that I first saw her. She was on a debate stage, her arguments sharp and precise. She moved with confidence, her dark hair shining under the bright lights, her eyes sparkling with intelligence and passion. She was fierce, articulate, and utterly captivating. She won that debate, her victory resounding through the hall. That's how it started. That's how I started liking her. I didn't approach her, I couldn't. And a part of me, the shy, private part, was simply captivated. So I watched her, from afar, through shared classes, through university events, through the occasional glimpse across the bustling campus. I learned her habits, her preferences, the way her eyes would crinkle when she truly laughed, the way she would bite her lip when she was deep in thought. I watched her until we graduated. I watched her leave the university, her future stretching bright before her. I even told my parents, a rare confession for me, that I had found someone I liked, someone I wanted to be my Luna. My mother, Luna Alara, had simply smiled, a knowing look in her eyes. My father, Alpha Orion, had nodded, a quiet approval. But I was too late. Just as I was steeling myself, preparing to approach her, to speak to her, to finally make my intentions known, the news spread like wildfire through the Interpack network. Lily had found her fated mate, Alpha Hudson of the River Valley Pack. The news hit me like a physical blow, a sharp, cold agony that settled deep in my chest. Devastation. That's what it was. I had so many regrets. Regrets for not approaching her sooner. Regrets for only watching from afar. Regrets for letting my caution, my reclusive nature, get the best of me. I had lost my chance. I was sad, pained. Even when I heard the news of her marriage years later, the formal announcement, the grand ceremony, I couldn't let go of my liking for the woman. It was a quiet, persistent ache, a constant presence in the back of my mind. I just watched, from the shadows, from the periphery. Even when we were in the same events, the same alpha gatherings, she wouldn't even bat an eye at me. She was too busy, too consumed by her jerk husband, Alpha Hudson. The whispers, the rumors about Hudson, they reached even my reclusive pack. I heard about his arrogance, his dismissiveness, his growing neglect of his Luna, and apparently what I hated the most, what truly infuriated my wolf, was when I heard that while Lily was pregnant, carrying his firstborn, Hudson was openly taking care of another pregnant woman. Abigail. The injustice of it, the blatant disrespect, it made my blood boil. He was throwing away a treasure, a fated bond, for a cheap imitation. So, when the news finally broke, that she had divorced him, that she had returned to the Rosebud Pack, that she was sick, terminally ill, and was asking for help to heal her cancer, I saw it. An opportunity, a second chance, a chance I could not squander again. I grabbed it. I knew the risks, I knew the terms. She was ill, she was carrying another male's pup, but none of that mattered. All that mattered was that she was free, and she needed me. This time, I would no longer second guess. I would take care of her. I would take care of her baby. I would do everything that Hudson failed to do. I would be the mate she deserved, the alpha she needed. I would love her, even if it took forever for her to love me back. I would be patient. I would be devoted. I would prove to her that true love, true care was not a fleeting thing. And now, here we were, on the cusp of our marriage. The preparations were almost complete. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to stand at the end of the aisle to see her walk towards me to finally, truly claim her as mine. Not out of a deal, not out of necessity, but out of a love that had been years in the making, a love that had waited patiently for its time to bloom. Third person's POV. Under the watchful eyes of the moon goddess, Alpha Caius and Luna Lily stood before their gathered packs, their hands clasped, their eyes locked. The ceremony was simple, steeped in the traditions of the Heaven Valley. Lily, radiant in a gown of woven moonlight, felt a deep sense of peace settle over her. The lingering weakness of her illness was slowly, steadily receding, replaced by the vibrant hum of Caius's healing power, flowing through their newly solidified mate bond. She was officially the Luna of Heaven Valley Pack. Their life together began with joy. Dione, Lily's baby boy, thrived under the combined care of his mother and his new alpha father. Caius, true to his word, embraced Dione as his own, his deep voice soothing the infant's cries, his strong arms cradling him with a tenderness that made Lily's heart ache with a sweet, unfamiliar warmth. "Look at him smile. He looks like you," Caius uttered while smiling at the baby. Dione's laughter filled the Luna chambers. As days turned into weeks, Lily found herself deepening her feelings for Alpha Caius. His strength, his unwavering loyalty, his kindness, they were qualities she had yearned for, but never truly found in her previous mate. He was patient, understanding, and his love, once a secret, now bloomed openly, gently around her. She was no longer just a deal, a means to an end. She was cherished, she was loved, and she was healing, not just her body, but her heart. Meanwhile, in the River Valley Pack, Alpha Hudson was a ghost of his former self. His world had truly crashed down to ashes. The loss of Lily, the revelation of Abigail's deceit, the undeniable truth that his supposed heir was not his own, it had broken him. He was miserable. The pack house now felt like a prison, echoing with his loneliness. He couldn't even see his true son, Dione, the child he had so foolishly abandoned. The Rosebud Pack's legal team had ensured his custody petition was swiftly denied, citing his prolonged neglect and Lily's established stability within her birth pack. Abigail and her baby were no longer in the River Valley. The last news of her was that she had returned to her impoverished parents, forced to work to support her child, a contrast to the life of luxury she had once craved. "Alpha, you have to pull yourself together. Everything's falling apart," said Beta Kyle. Hudson was losing it all. He couldn't function. Pack duties, once shared with Lily, now overwhelmed him. His once sharp mind was clouded by regret and self-pity. The pack's businesses, already reeling from the loss of the Southern Territory, continued to falter under his fractured leadership. Many pack members, seeing the decline, the lack of a strong Luna, the broken Alpha, began to leave, seeking better lives in more stable territories. The River Valley Pack, once a formidable force, was slowly, painfully eroding. "Alpha, I'm sorry, but we can no longer support our family here. We're leaving River Valley." He became a lonely Alpha, a king without a queen, a father without his true son, haunted by the ghosts of his past mistakes. The vibrant energy that once defined him had faded, replaced by a dull, persistent ache in his chest, a constant reminder of the mate bond he had so carelessly discarded. He would often find himself staring at the empty space on the wall where Lily's mateship photo once hung, a silent testament to the love he had thrown away. On the other hand, it was a happy start for Lily and Alpha Caius and her baby. "There's my brave little warrior," Caius murmured to Dione, pressing a soft kiss to his forehead. "You're getting so big, aren't you?" Dione reached out, his tiny hand grasping at Caius's dark hair, pulling playfully. Caius didn't even flinch, just chuckled again. I walked over, a smile blooming on my face. "He certainly is. You spoil him, you know." Caius looked up, his green eyes meeting mine, a warmth spreading through me. "Only the best for my pup," he said, his voice soft. He shifted Dione into one arm, extending the other to me. I took it, my fingers intertwining with his. His touch was a comforting anchor. "You're an incredible father, Caius," I confessed, my voice thick with emotion, more than I ever dreamed of for Dione. He squeezed my hand gently. "He is my son now, Lily, in every way that matters." His gaze deepened, a profound affection shining in his eyes. Are you happy here, Luna Lily? Truly happy. I leaned into him, resting my head on his shoulder, inhaling the comforting scent of pine and his unique earthy musk. More than words can say, love. More than I ever thought possible. I looked up at him, my heart open. I came to you broken, desperate for a second chance at life. You gave me that, and so much more. You gave me a home, a true pack, and a love that is as pure and boundless as the moon goddess's light. He smiled, a genuine, heartwarming smile that made my own heart swell. It was always meant to be, darling. Our paths, however winding, were always leading us here, to each other. He pulled me closer, pressing a soft kiss to my temple. Dione, nestled between us, let out a happy gurgle, as if in agreement. I love you, Alpha Caius whispered as he hugged her tightly. The end.